Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the Watchalong for David Lynch's 2001 masterpiece, Mulholland Drive. My co-host today is Danielle. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I'm so happy to have you on. I saw you over there on Joey Pedrus's YouTube channel, and I said, I gotta have this girl over here.
That's great. I'm excited. Can't wait to delve into this.
I know, this has been a long time request by a lot of viewers. They're just like, listen, we love your Twin Peaks stuff. We love, when you discuss David Lynch. Can you cover some of his other movies, especially during this downtime of being a Twin Peaks fan, which is where we're at right now, waiting for the final dossier and maybe a Showtime announcement in the next month or so. So yeah, this is the perfect time to delve into some of David Lynch's other works. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join me in this discussion.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into all that Lynchian goodness. I'm even wearing my Directed by David Lynch shirt today.
Oh, wow. Where'd you get that?
Yeah. I got it online. I can't remember where. T-Fury or something.
Okay.
I'll have to check, but.
So since we're talking about Mulholland Drive here, let's start with your relationship to this film. How did it come to you? What did you think when you first saw it?
Okay, so I'm relatively new to Mulholland Drive. I think in the last year or two was when I started watching it and rewatching it. I bought it on Criterion Blu-ray, been delving into it. And, of course, with any Lynch movie, the first time you watch it, it's kind of like, what did I just watch? What is happening? But then you watch and come up with your own ideas. And as you do that, you just fall more and more in love with it. And that's kind of what I've been doing with Mulholland Drive.
Yeah. What did you like? Have you watched it numerous times, or did you kind of, when the first time you watched it, it just clicked right away?
I've watched it numerous times. Definitely, it has clicked. I've had to come up with stuff as more and more times I watch it, the more ideas I come up with it, and it's becomes more and more, makes more sense each time I watch it. At least with the way I take it. I know you take it differently than me, so I think.
Well, that's why I wanted you on this show, because it sounds like your viewpoint and how you decide to read the film is more or less kind of the accepted version of how people interpret this film. I'm sure there's variations, of course, as there are with any interpretation of Lynch's work. But yeah, I got really excited when I found out that, you have this kind of viewpoint, because I wanted it for this discussion, just so that there's different, points of view, and obviously people are represented. It's this has been one of the most requested titles for myself and the channel to cover, basically because a few months ago I was doing one of the Twin Peaks videos during the glorious summer of Lynch that we just had with Twin Peaks season 3, and I kind of threw out my thought that Mulholland Drive, I never took it as a dream that a lot of people have, sort of the accepted overall theory that a lot of people have, going back to the original release, right, is that the first 2/3 of the movie is a dream, that it's Diane's dream, that she pictures herself as Betty, and that the last hour or so, last 50 minutes, is reality, that is Diane's reality and her guilt for having killed Camilla. And that is a theory that I find utterly fascinating, but it has never spoke true to me. And that's not to say that if that's the way you read the film that you're wrong, because you're not wrong. I want to make that very clear. I was talking earlier with Danielle about, I really want to make that just extremely clear, that there is no right or wrong here when it comes to David Lynch. It's basically, I've always thought David Lynch is, you take out what you put in. Right.
And I think David's even said that how it resonates with you is how it's true to you as a person. Like, it's different for everyone, and how it is for you is how you should take it. So
Exactly. Yeah, it's all right. Well, let me get into some of the back history of this movie while we're allowing people to kind of come in and join in on the chat. So David Lynch had a 3-picture deal with a company called CIBY 2000. And the 3-picture deal was supposed to be for Fire Walk with Me and 2 other Twin Peaks movies. That obviously did not happen. So we got Fire Walk with Me. But they did hold true to the contract. And so under that company, he released Lost Highway and The Straight Story. So in the conclusion of The Straight Story, he was done with that contract. So he was trying to think about what else to do. And so 98, early 99, he pitched Mulholland Drive to ABC. Now, I'm kind of curious why he decided to go back to ABC, maybe because he had a relationship with them. But I mean, they canceled Twin Peaks. They barely showed on the air before they threw it out. I mean, it was, they made 8 episodes. They only aired 3 of them, and then they cut it. The Laserdisc has all 8, and I think all 8 are on YouTube. And supposedly, Mark Frost's dream is that On the Air will be also on the season 3 Blu-ray set, which would be shocking because no 2 shows are dissimilar. So anyway, ABC was like, "What's your idea, Dave?" And he goes, "Okay, there's a girl, and of course, she's in trouble. That's kind of a familiar thing, and she's got a lot of money and a blue box." And they said, "Well, what's with the box?" And he goes, "Buy the pilot and I'll tell you about the blue box." So they said, "All right, David, here you go." And somehow, I don't know how this happened, but Brian Grazer and Ron Howard got involved and were executive producers for the original pilot. So David Lynch goes and makes his pilot, and he hires 3 completely relatively unknown, I guess, actors, Naomi Watts, Laura Haring, as she was known back then. Elena wasn't added until the feature film, and Justin Theroux. And it's so kind of shocking to think that if ABC had picked this up, those actors would be TV actors. Naomi Watts wouldn't have been a feature film actress. That's would be some, given her career and what she's done, I would be shocked if she had spent 5 years on ABC television or something like that.
I can't even picture it.
Yeah, neither can I. So he made the film, but he had a deadline in terms of showing it to ABC. Now, for those of you who don't know, there are like several thousand pitches of TV shows every year. Out of those, they maybe pick 100 to take to pilot. From that 100, they choose maybe, I don't know, 11 or 12 to take to series or even air. So, a lot of people like to criticize ABC for, not taking Mulholland Drive to series. And I understand that. But you have to also understand that they have to whittle down something. And it's probably for the best, because if you see the actual pilot, while it is really good, there is something missing. And what that is that David Lynch did not have the time before he had to turn in the pilot to them. He didn't have the time to finesse the footage. So it's very raw. And it has the music, but it doesn't have the sound effects that we associate with his work. And it's very much a studio sound. So that kind of plays against it. Anyway, so he showed it to them, and I guess what turned them off out of everything was the scene in The Office when the assassin like kills the guy and then has to go kill the woman with the cleaning lady, right? Because when Lynch turned this in, it was right after Columbine. And so they kind of were like, oh, I don't know about that. So apparently that was the major reason why Mulholland Drive wasn't picked up. But the good news is that they allowed David Lynch to kind of purchase it from them so that they didn't hold the rights to it. So he kind of paid them off and took the pilot with him. Now, when the Twin Peaks pilot was done, the idea was that it was going to play in America as a series if it got picked up. But if not, they were going to release it as a movie overseas, and they did. They added that extended ending, for the international pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So Lynch was, he was used to doing this. But what happened was Alain Sardé, he's a producer over in Europe, and he had done stuff with Polanski. He came to Lynch and said, "Listen, what if you kind of did what you did with the Twin Peaks thing and just kind of add an ending to it?" And so Lynch was like, "Okay, yeah, that could be interesting." So then he created the whole last hour of Mulholland Drive. So let me get into some specifics here, because the pilot was shown in 1999, but the movie didn't come out until 2001. I can't even imagine what Naomi Watts and Justin Theroux and Laura Elena Harding, the three main stars, were thinking during that 2 years, because they were like, because their careers were still at a stall. They weren't they weren't really making a lot during that time. So can you imagine, like, oh, we're doing this thing with David Lynch. Oh, I didn't get picked up. And okay, we're getting a win that he might add some more stuff to it. Oh, okay. That's 2 Christmases they have to go through, not knowing what the heck's going on with this movie. So anyway, Lynch called up everybody and said, "Hey, I'm going to take it to a movie, and it's great. And guess what? We're turning everybody into lesbians, and you're going to get naked." And it's quite funny because, okay, the pilot is 89 minutes long. Okay.
Wow.
The final cut of this movie is 2 hours and 26 minutes long. However, out of that pilot, I would say 80 minutes of the pilot remain in the movie. He cut out like 9 minutes of other stuff. So you're looking at what an hour? Let's see, yeah, an hour and 16 minutes added to the movie. So that's more or less half. So if you want to look at it, okay, the first 90 minutes of this movie is basically the pilot. There's some things in there peppered in, and I'll discuss those as we go on. But right after the girls get the wig, she cuts her hair and dyes it blonde. That's the end of the pilot, more or less the end of the pilot. Everything after that is new. There's some new stuff, like I said, peppered in, but for the most part, the first 90 minutes or so of the movie is the pilot. So the movie is made, finished. They premiere it at Cannes. David Lynch wins Best Director at Cannes. Yes, but he has to share it with the Coen brothers for The Man Who Wasn't There. So that's interesting that they had to
share it. I didn't
had to share it. Yeah. The movie came out in a limited release October 12th, 2001. I remember I actually drove 2 hours north of me to even see it in the theater, because at the time it wasn't even supposed to go like the wide release wasn't going to go wide. So I didn't think I was going to get a chance to see this in the theater. So I drove 2 hours north to see it in one of those rinky-dink little art house theaters with the, it was very peculiar. They showed pictures of like people who died like in the Vietnam War, like before. That was the slideshow before the movie began. It was very peculiar, and I just loved the film. I remember about maybe an hour, 15 minutes into the film, just thinking, this is the best movie I've seen all year. And of course, Variety had kind of tipped people off because they published the review at a Cannes Film Festival, and Variety gave away. They gave away the whole plot. They said, in the last 45 minutes, Lynch doesn't know what to do, so he just throws everything and does some sort of labyrinth plot and recycles everything and just goes, okay, I don't know anymore, and ends the movie. So I was like, because an hour and 15 minutes, the movie's still like moving in kind of a logical fashion. And I remember thinking, what is Variety talking about? And of course, then the last 45 minutes hit, and you're like, I get it. But it didn't put me off. Yeah, but it did go wide October 19th, 2001, and it did play like all over. And for a David Lynch film, pretty big hit. Naomi Watts became like a movie star overnight, which is quite surprising. I mean, she's great in the movie, don't get me wrong, but I can just think from her point of view, thinking, oh my God, if people had seen this in 99, I would have been a star back in 99. I had to wait 2 years for this.
All this time, she could have just been famous.
Exactly. So anyway, the movie went on to be a big hit. He was nominated for Best Director, which, you know, was great. That was kind of like a 1-2 punch with The Straight Story and Mulholland Drive. A lot of people will say like, wow, you know, he, you know, because usually Lynch takes 4 or 5 years in between projects. And, you know, Mulholland Drive came out 2 years after The Straight Story. But in reality, Mulholland Drive would have come out the same year as The Straight Story if ABC had accepted the pilot. So there it is. There is some back history for Mulholland Drive for anyone who was interested. And I appreciate everybody in the chat right now and watching us live. So yeah, okay. So like you said, so why don't you tell us what your theory is overall?
Okay. So my dream is that, not my dream. My theory is that it is just kind of a fantasy dream sequence versus reality. It's Diane having a drug-induced dream, trying to mask all the guilt she feels for having her lover killed and being jilted, and trying to create this world that is kind of repressing all of her reality and making a life that she wants for herself, and kind of fluffing things up a little bit and making them better than they are in real life. And a lot of it is her too trying to, it's just all about repression and depression, and her trying not to face her fears and her guilt. I think that's kind of the gist of what I think Mulholland Drive is about.
And you're definitely not alone. I mean, that's, I mean, a lot of people view it that way. And again, I completely understand, because if you do look at, I mean, if you do look at the film, I mean, you can see it's laid out perfectly, right? I mean, it looks like Diane puts her head on the pillow at the beginning, and then, you know, the movie goes on, and then the cowboy shows up and it's like, it's time to wake up. And then, you know, and it totally works in terms of that, like the Hollywood dream and then the Hollywood reality of not being famous, and, you know, it being, you know, kind of a tough going for her. And then she ultimately just offs herself, which is such a depressing ending. But yeah, so that is the prevailing theory a lot of people have. Now, the next theory that a lot of people share is that something that was kind of used in the, season 3 of Twin Peaks, which is it's all a dream. But whose dream is it, right? Roger Ebert, who gave this movie 4 stars, he gave The Straight Story 4 stars, but this was like his second Lynch film in a row they gave 4 stars to. And he thought the whole movie was a dream, and that as the movie goes on, especially in the last part, let's say in the last 10 minutes, how it just moves from scene to scene to scene. His interpretation was that is you waking up, and your subconscious is trying to link everything together as fast as possible, and then you wake up. And that seems to be something that a lot of people look at as well, and that's an interesting way of looking at it too. You know, yeah. I love hearing people's theories about all of Lynch's work. You know, it's interesting because, okay, I'm gonna probably say that a lot, guys. It's interesting because it just is. Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart, right? They have, you know, they have surrealistic moments for sure. They have surrealistic set pieces, definitely, but they're stories you can follow. I mean, they're pretty logical stories. Same thing with Twin Peaks, season 1 and 2. You know, it's like, yeah, there's surrealistic moments, there's strange things that happen, but if you sit down and watch it, you can understand how we get from point A to point B pretty seamlessly.
It doesn't turn you on your head.
Right.
It makes you wonder what the heck is happening.
Right. Now, there were indications he was going to go this way with Fire Walk with Me, because in that movie you have one story that becomes a separate story with the investigation, Teresa Banks into Laura Palmer. But still, it's pretty logical how we get there. But he was kind of starting to play with this idea of two narratives in one film, right? He would take it to the next level 5 years later with Lost Highway. I kind of look at this as sort of the kind of an unofficial trilogy in a way, right? Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire. This idea of lost identity trilogy, if you will, and you can see how they all kind of fit together of a piece, right? They're all centered in around Los Angeles, right? Like a lot of his titles, they all have two words.
Yep.
They're all about somebody who kind of becomes somebody else. In the case of Lost Highway, spoilers, Fred Madison becomes Pete Dayton, and then in this one we have Betty and Diane and Rita and Camilla, and then Inland Empire. I don't even know who the heck they turn into in that movie half the time, yeah, it's interesting how he kind of took those themes from the last three films he made, which, like, by the way, CIBY, like I said, gave him that 3-picture deal. So then after that, Mulholland Drive was a standalone deal with a European company, and then Inland Empire was personally financed, and then Twin Peaks was financed by Showtime and a French company. So he's kind of been on his own for the last 15 years or so. And were you surprised in season 3, especially towards the end, like in the finale, that he kind of took the Mulholland Drive Inland Empire approach, and because we were kind of following the story, and then the last, like, let's say part 18, he flipped it like he does at the end of Mulholland Drive?
I was very surprised. I mean, I went into it knowing to expect the unexpected, but it went, somewhere I didn't even think it would go. But I love it, though. I'm glad that it went so abstract and different than I expected. That's what makes it great, is David Lynch always challenges me more than I think he will. I love it.
Although I would say, even though I do enjoy the ending on repeat viewings, I would say that in a way it was kind of expected, because he's been doing this for now almost 20 years. It was like, well, of course he's gonna turn this into this and make this. It's just yeah. So it was, in a way, I wasn't surprised, and at first, even though, like, I was fine with it, at the same time, there was a part of me thinking, David, what are you doing? I mean, Twin Peaks should be Twin Peaks. Lost Highway should be Lost Highway. You're not going to turn one thing into another thing just because that's where your headspace is right now. But I've gone back and watched it. I'm fine with it now. But at first I was just kind of like, oh, can we just get an ending to Twin Peaks before you decide to turn it into Inland Empire or whatever?
Yeah, I felt that same way at first too. I'm like, this isn't quite Twin Peaks. But then I think once I realized that it's not our original Twin Peaks, it's the return, and I feel like a lot of it is a culmination of everything David Lynch has done, and he's putting it into one and putting everything he's done into this big thing.
Exactly. Okay, so when the movie was playing in the theater, David Lynch had a special announcement that would go out to projectionists, and he wrote to them, "Projection department, I understand this is an unusual request, yet I do need your help regarding Mulholland Drive." And of course, he lists the 1:85 aspect ratio, which is a little bigger than television, but that's what he shot the pilot in. Most of his films are shot in 2:35:1, right? But TV is more like this, so that's why Mulholland Drive has a bigger picture. He says, "Please raise your volume to 3 dB, hotter than normal. Would you also give the picture a small amount of headroom as shown below? Thank you very much, your friend, David Lynch." Now
friend.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Reminds me of what he did with Wild at Heart. I mean, if you've ever seen Wild at Heart in a proper movie theater screening, the sound is so loud that every time they strike a match, the entire theater shakes like a D-box.
Wow.
It's amazing. And I've gone to screenings where they don't have the sound that loud, and it's pathetic. Like
Yeah, that's stupid.
that sound is supposed to be, I mean, it was designed to blow you to the back of the theater. I don't think Mulholland Drive quite is that, but there's some real deep rumblings in the soundtrack. So I understand where he's going for with that. All right, well, before we start, I'm not going to give my theory out yet, because I'm going to do that as the film kind of goes on, and then because if I just kind of describe it, then you'll be like, because I don't think my theory on it is all that like revolutionary. It's just different than a lot of people look at the film. So that's, I guess, what makes it different. But I think it's quite simple. But anyway, one more thing before we get started with this watch along. We have the original DVD of this movie. When this came out on DVD, there was actually two covers, one with Rita and Camilla, and one with Diane and Betty. And you have the Criterion Blu-ray, right?
I do.
And overall, I think it's a gorgeous print of it, and they did a really great job with it. Although they did mess up the very beginning of the film, where when you watch it, after it says a film by David Lynch, if you saw it in the theater, if you watch it on a video, if you watch it on DVD, if you watch it on streaming, it then is supposed to fade up to the dancers, and they forgot to include the fade on their scan. So then after it says a film by David Lynch, you'll notice for a split frame, there's a frozen image of the dancer, and then it just starts.
Oh.
Yeah, so they never went back and corrected it, unfortunately. All right, but the DVD, this was Universal's bright idea. They decided to include the most BS thing I've ever heard, which is Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's 10 Clues to Unlocking the Thriller. Now, anybody who knows David Lynch knows that even he doesn't understand his movies half the time. He goes on mood and feeling, and yes, he does consider story and plot. He does. But mood and feeling win out over plot construction for David. That being said, I'm pretty sure the marketing department came up with these nifty things. I can't imagine Lynch writing this, but let's just say Lynch did write this. He's definitely trolling us. So while we do this watch along, please keep in mind these 10 facts. At least number 1, pay particular attention in the beginning of the film. At least 2 clues are revealed before the credits. Well, that might lean in your favor in terms of laying your head down on the pillow.
Maybe.
Number 2, notice appearances of the red lampshade. All right, so we're gonna look out for red lampshades apparently.
Okay.
Number 3, can you hear the title of the film that Adam Kesher is auditioning actresses for, and is it mentioned again? It better not be On High and Blue Tomorrows, I'll tell you that much. Number 4, an accident is a terrible event. Notice the location of the accident. I don't know. Could it be Mulholland Drive?
Could it be?
All right. Number 5, who gives a key and why? Number 6, notice the robe, the ashtray, the coffee cup. Number 7, what is felt, realized, and gathered at Club Silencio? All right.
I don't think anyone knows the true answer.
The true answer is Laura Palmer and Ronette Pulaski. No.
Yeah.
Number 8, did talent alone help Camilla? Number 9, note the occurrences surrounding the man behind Winkies. They're obviously referring to the bum, played by Bonnie Aarons, who, of course, played the nun in Conjuring 2 as well. Number 10, where is Aunt Ruth? So there you go, Danielle. Those are the secrets to unlocking Mulholland Drive, apparently.
Okay.
Do you believe that? Do you think answering those 10 questions unlock the mystery of Mulholland Drive?
I think I don't know, maybe they could be good clues depending on what you think, but I don't think they really matter in the end. But I think it could be interesting to go through and find the clues. But personally, I think that what you realize yourself without the clues is the most important part of unlocking a Lynch film.
Right. So George is saying people can go to mulhollanddrive.net for so many theories. Mark is saying the jitterbug character switching places. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we're gonna definitely have a lively crowd here tonight.
All right.
George says Mulholland Drive does get loud as F in the theater. It does for some moments, yes. Let's see here. How's Annie is here saying, "Oh my God, I hadn't noticed about Laura and Ronette." You know about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people will say that's not Laura and Ronette, but I did some poking around today, and Phoebe Augustine is uncredited, but she is labeled as being there. So it may not be Cheryl Lee, but it definitely was Phoebe Augustine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Pretty cool. All right, Danielle, are you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right, everybody. Hashtag Betty ain't no dream. That follows my previous hashtag Annie ain't no tulpa. All right. All right. So we're going to start this in a minute here. Let me just make sure I have set yeah, but like I said, I just want to state we're going to have different theories, and you probably have different theories. Throw your stuff out in the chat. Obviously, if I can get to it, I'll acknowledge it. I'll throw this out there. I just want to say that nobody's right, nobody's wrong. David Lynch, his movies are designed for everyone to have their own thoughts, their own feelings about the film. So just because I may speak authoritatively about how I view the film, that doesn't mean that, I think you're wrong. So I just want to make that very clear before we get angry people. All right, here we go. And let's do this. Give me a second here. Of course, my stream is stopping. All right. Whoa. All right. Let me back this up here. All right, here we go. And in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, hit play. I'm getting the Studio Canal logo. Is that what you're getting?
Wait.
Are you off? Pause, everybody.
Sorry, mine's being slow.
All right. I paused it right before the first title came out. So
I had to wait for my Blu-ray player to turn back on.
That's the pleasures of live videoing, people. Back in the day, we just cut these moments out, but I'm so
be here for
I'm so happy. We already have one thumbs down. We haven't even started the thing.
Oh no, guys, no. Well, okay, here we go. Criterion. I don't know why. I think I need a new Blu-ray player. This one is just so slow. Because it turned off because I had it going and I waited too long. Okay.
All right. So I actually have it past the Studio Canal logo. So right before the first credit appears.
Okay.
So let me know.
I have to wait for my Criterion Collection logo to go past.
Yes. All right, make sure your volume's down.
Yep.
Mark says, just start from the beginning. Mark, we're going to start in the middle and go backwards, okay?
Okay.
All right. Are you at the first credit or are you at the Studio Canal?
Studio Canal, just right after. Okay.
Okay. I am not watching the DVD. I'm watching it off my streaming site, everybody. Okay. All right. So did the Studio Canal logo already go? Or is it just about to start?
I'm on the Alain Sardé Presents.
Okay. All right. Now, here we go. Everybody, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy, Mark? Here we go. Play.
Okay.
All right. I do like the opening music, though, with the Alain Sardé and a film by David Lynch.
Beautiful.
All right, so we begin with this fade up of the jitterbug dancers. Now, this is not in the pilot, so this was added for the film. The idea of introducing is like 2 different couples or so, maybe there's 3, and they just keep duplicating and duplicating, and they're kind of mirror image of each other, and they're also just being, just multiplied before our very eyes, which is basically what's going to happen to this narrative and a lot of other narratives in Lynch's work. But I think this is a pretty festive kind of way to begin the film, and it is interesting when you see the pilot. The pilot literally begins with the push-in on the sign of Mulholland Drive with the limo going up the mountain. So this was definitely added to kind of bring in Betty.
And it's like you have duplicates of people. It's like who's real, who's not, who's who. It's kind of going along with the dream sequence. It's like who's dream, who's not. Can you hear my sound? Is it down enough?
Yeah, just lower it. Just put it on mute.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Then we have obviously Betty and the elderly couple here, which again, this is all added for the movie itself. The elderly couple aren't even really in the pilot. We only see the elderly woman one time in the pilot when she's walking Betty out of the airport, and that's it. So that whole subplot was definitely added. Now, here is the moment that a lot of people will say is the beginning of the dream of Diane lowering her head on the pillow. The way
sounds like maybe she's doing some drugs.
Yeah, the way I've always looked at it, and again, you can poke holes in my theory and I can poke holes in your theory. So, but this is the way I've always pictured it. I always thought that people say, during your last moments before you die, everything becomes slow motion. Whenever you see like in Vanilla Sky with like when Tom Cruise is about to hit the ground, everything slows down, right? So my feeling is this is when she shoots herself, and that is her lowering. I mean, she's basically falling to her pillow in slow motion.
Okay.
So I've never pictured this film as a dream. I think this entire film is happened, and I will explain as we go on. So now these credits here, these are new credits. If you see the credits for the original pilot, they're abysmal. They kind of just show up and then just fly away. These are very classy. And of course, like I said, Laura Haring became Laura Elena Haring for this title sequence. And this is also different actor credits. I mean, they are in the original one, but there's more actors listed in the pilot that are not listed here. And also the cuts and dissolves are different for this. I mean, it's the same shots, they're just put together differently. But I love this music by Angelo Badalamenti, and in fact,
so good.
If there's one negative thing about Twin Peaks season 3, as it's called now, the lack of Badalamenti music.
I know, because he's what I think he brings Lynch to life, like just a little bit extra. It's just so beautiful. I've loved Angelo Badalamenti like even before I got into Lynch. Like his music has always been one of my favorites. He's so talented.
Peter Deming did the photography for this movie. He did the photography, of course, for Lost Highway and Twin Peaks: The Return. And Jack Fisk coming back to do the art design. Jack Fisk, of course, is David Lynch's best friend from back in the day. He's married to Sissy Spacek. Together, they helped put up some of the money for Eraserhead. And they, of course, teamed up with him around the same time to do The Straight Story. Both of them, actually, Sissy and Jack. So this is kind of like a welcoming party for a lot of Lynch collaborators. Now, here's Laura Elena Haring. I mean, just right from the start, stunning looking. Lynch just has a way of making like his actresses look more beautiful than they ever look in any other TV or movie.
They do. There's just something about them they look more soulful in a Lynch production than they do in anything else. I feel like I don't know what it is. It's perfect.
Now in the theater, this scene right here is extremely loud. with the kids careening out of control.
Oh, I bet, with all the screaming and
exactly. All right, so the way I look at this is this is Camilla, right? And she's gonna have, head trauma here, and of course she heads down the Mulholland Drive, and we'll meet up with Betty. So that's where I am right now in terms of the story.
With me, I think if I'm saying this is Diane's dream and that's who Rita is going to be, I think this is her way of having like the guilt going away, being like, oh, the hitman didn't actually kill her. She was okay. I'm not as guilty anymore. It's her way of redeeming herself.
Oh yeah, like I said,
in her dream.
Like I said, everything works.
She does a good concussed walk.
Yeah, and high heels, no less.
And I'd be falling down.
Now, what's interesting, too, is, Lynch is not one to skimp on violence. And yet, a lot of the violence in this movie, believe it or not, is in the original pilot. And he didn't go back and add anything for the of the old footage. He didn't go back and try to make things more potently violent or something like that, So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's still network okay violence.
Exactly. Look at the way she's just falling down the hill like that. But she's got her purse, so she's good.
That's good.
Even with the head trauma, she knows she needs her handbag.
Yeah. Can't forget your handbag.
And that's just a weird moment, that dissolve after she goes down the hill, and then it dissolves, and then she's just still walking down the hill.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool little touch there. You don't see Lynch doing that very often. Just freaking out by seeing more headlights.
And just that look of terror in her eyes.
Oh yeah.
It's how she's so lost.
And yet she knows which sidewalk to take and which street to take. She knows
it must be even when it's how some people, when they lose their memory, you still have the things ingrained in there. Sunset Boulevard, there's a lot of Sunset Boulevard stuff in here. For at least the movie, Sunset Boulevard. I'll have to talk about that a little bit throughout.
And like Laura Palmer, she's going to go hide underneath a bush, right?
Yep. Little fire walk with me, hiding under a bush.
She tripped over the tree stump. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Just fall asleep in a bush.
That actress looked familiar. I wonder where she's from.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone in the chat will be screaming at me.
Yeah, they'll tell us.
Yeah, and this is any courtyard in in Hollywood, basically. Now here we have Brent Briscoe and Robert Forster.
Yep, we got Sheriff Truman.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people assume that they were a big subplot in the pilot that got cut out. Actually, they weren't. There's this scene, and this scene was shortened up just a hair. Basically, reaction shots were removed from the pilot to kind of tighten it up, and then they have that scene in the office, which Lynch put on the Criterion Blu-ray as one of the deleted moments. That's the only two scenes they're in the pilot. They probably would come back if, you know, the series had gone to air, but it is interesting how the Criterion Blu-ray like includes this one deleted scene, but I just wish that they had included the original pilot cleaned up as well. Like that would just be great to look at it, to compare and contrast.
That would be so great.
Yeah, they kind of missed it with that, but I'm sure David just would not let that happen.
No.
But it is interesting how, like, you know, he left this scene in. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, he's just showing that the police know that there's something weird going on, but we never come back to them in this movie.
No.
and he cut out the other scene of them in the from the pilot. So I'm surprised you didn't bring back Robert Forster for that, you know, for the last hour or something, you know, throw him back.
I would have liked that.
Yeah. So here's Betty's Aunt Ruth.
Aunt Ruth
taken off. So Lynch wants us to know where Aunt Ruth is. Here she is. Where's she going? Who cares? She's going somewhere.
Oh, she's filming a movie in Canada, which I found out is an old Hollywood saying for being dead.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Filming a movie in Canada.
I had no idea about that. Thank you.
And if you take the A off of Aunt Ruth, it says untruth.
Well, now I'm so happy you're here watching this with me. I'm learning all kinds of new things. Again, this is just the pilot. You can kind of tell that this is TV pacing here.
Yeah, it's a nice yellow kitchen.
Definitely,
I'd take that.
It's so funny. People in Hollywood, they pay, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, for spaces that are so petite. You know,
they're just little.
They are. Same thing with New York, you know. But if you go out to like the Midwest, I mean, you get like 45 acres of land with that amount of money.
Yeah.
She's like, I got to take a nap here.
Yeah. Not under a bush this time, under a table.
But she's got her handbag. See that's good. That works as a pillow here. All right, now this whole Winkies scene.
Yep.
Everything in Winkies is not in the pilot.
Okay.
I had always thought that this scene was in the pilot just because they're kind of two random characters that more or less don't come back. No, this was added to the feature film.
Okay.
I guess because Betty and Rita have that scene in the diner with the waitress where it says Diane. I think that probably, you know, gave Lynch the inspiration. Like, maybe I need some more diner scenes. Yeah. Because the bum only shows up in one moment in the pilot, and that's the final moment of the pilot. So so he had to figure out a way to introduce the bum. So let's do this kind of spooky scene that not only introduces the bum, but also introduces Winkies. It's very clever. It's a very economical way to kind of tighten up the story. And for a scene that kind of is a standalone moment, it's so memorable.
It really is. Like it like shakes you to your core. It's one of those moments in a film where you're like, oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, when the bum comes around the you know, the dumpster, you are it's one of the biggest jump scares anyone's ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
And people don't really associate Mulholland Drive as being a horror film, but it kind of is, you know.
But that moment is.
Yeah.
And just Dan's reaction to it too it's shaking. But I definitely see this scene as if this part is part of Diane's dream, I think it's her kind of conjuring up this man who is probably recycled from someone she knows in real life, and to kind of help her, I don't know, kind of help her symbolizes her trying to repress, trying to face her demons.
Yeah, I mean, you have some evidence for that, because in the final part, they show her in the diner, you know, and then she sees this guy standing in line. So that could be like, oh, she saw him standing in line, so that's like in her dream, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it does make sense. For me, these are two guys just sitting in a diner, having a conversation. talking about a dream he had and otherworldly events. You know, what's interesting is that what Lynch has been doing since Lost Highway, especially, is this idea of somebody telling somebody else about, I had a dream last night, right? This scene reminds me a lot of when Gordon Cole talks about his Monica Bellucci dream. And yet the whole thing is wrapped in sort of a dream narrative. Whereas if you look at Blue Velvet, if you look at Twin Peaks, those characters actually go to sleep, have a dream, and wake up. Though, you know, so like I said, those are realism mixed with surrealism. Yeah. From Lost Highway on, even characters actually stop other characters to tell people about a dream, and yet the whole narrative is shaped as surrealism, even though you know it's kind of a dream narrative. But I always think that's a trick, because I don't think that Lynch is really, when everyone's discussing about whose dream it is, and you know, is this person awake, is this person asleep, is this person dreaming, I just kind of take it as like it's all happening, and just life is a dream. You know, whose dream is it? It's ultimately David Lynch's dream. Right?
I know. Joey and I have joked about that, like that we're all just in David Lynch's dream, and that's all this is.
Right. I mean,
we're just living in his mind.
He has the sole writing credit for this, so this is entirely him. Right? This isn't Barry Gifford. This isn't Mark Frost. This is the first David Lynch screenplay he's written by himself since Wild at Heart. And even that was an adaptation. So let's say Blue Velvet or The Cowboy and the Frenchman, if you count that. But look at just the creep, just moving closer and closer. And
just look at that sweat streaming down his face.
Oh yeah. And we get closer and closer. Ah! And the screenplay for this, or the teleplay, says the homeless bum has black fungus on her face.
Ew.
So that's not soot, right? That is
fungus.
Well, according to the script, yeah.
Taking a nap.
I thought that was Gordon Cole for a second. No, it's Michael J. Anderson.
No, Michael J. Anderson.
He's not a tree. He is a little head on a big body. So he's saying, obviously, the girl is still missing. So, okay, the way I look at it is sometimes people want things that other people want too, right? So the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So let's say Diane wanted Camilla dead, right? So she hires Joe, Mark Pellegrino's character, to help orchestrate this. Well, he knows people who knows people that's going to help with this. But she's an actress, right? Camilla, she's an actress. Well, they want this other girl to be in what is his name? I can't remember his name now. Justin Theroux's Adam's movie.
Oh yeah, Adam.
So they're like, you know what? We agree. Let's take this girl out. Let's take Camilla out, and we'll have our girl come in. Camilla Rhodes. That's an actress's name. That's a stage name. So you know what? Yeah, you know what? Adam's got his head in the clouds with this other girl. Let's take her out, and we'll put in this new girl, and we'll just call her Camilla Rhodes, because nobody knows who Camilla Rhodes is. Camilla Rhodes is not a famous person. If Laura Elena Haring's character is a famous actress, there's news all over the place that there's a missing actress. There's no news at all. Nobody cares about this woman. So she's a no-name, right? So Camilla Rhodes could be anybody. And so I feel that Diane put the hit out on her. They went to kill her. It didn't work out, but they're going to have this other girl come in as Camilla Rhodes, but they still need to take out Camilla Rhodes because she didn't die. So the powers that be are saying we gotta make sure this happens. Okay. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
they basically want their own girl to they want their own girl in the movie, and they don't want to change the poster. They've already made the trailer.
No.
So we're just gonna call her Camilla Rhodes.
Let's get rid of her. We'll just have our own Camilla.
Yeah. Now these, like I said, this elderly couple completely added for this movie. There is that one shot of the elderly lady walking Betty out, and that was in the pilot. But the escalator, this outside scene, is completely added for the movie. And the fact that they managed to make Naomi Watts match as well as they did from 2 years earlier, pretty good.
That's really good.
There's a couple moments where you can tell there's a difference, but right now they're doing a great job. This is a very peculiar scene with the elderly couple.
With them in the back of the car. Yeah. It's just kind of sinister to me. It gives me a queasy feeling in my stomach. Just her smile and the laughing.
Right.
There's something wrong about it.
Yeah, it's like the elderly people in your life are not as they have sinister plans themselves, right?
Yeah.
I like all these like steady cam shots up the patio.
Steady cam court shots.
And Naomi Watts plays this character just such as a David Lynch character.
She does.
She's very much Betty from On the Air, or Donna Hayward. She's very much everything's so new and open and fresh. And I don't think that people really realize how great of an actress she is until that audition scene that happens halfway through. I think right now everyone just accepts her at face value. She's this girl, Naomi Watts. She's in this movie, this David Lynch movie. She's doing a great job. But I think that audition scene is what cements her in people's mind as being, wow, she is incredible.
Yeah, right now she's just like perfect girl next door, complete innocence.
Yeah, the Nancy Drew type, right?
Yeah, exactly, Nancy Drew.
She's Sandy from Blue Velvet. Now, okay, Sherilyn Fenn has gone on record saying that this movie originated as Audrey Horne Goes to Hollywood. Now, I've never heard anybody else say that's true. But if it is, I don't think they took out Audrey Horne from this storyline and put in Betty. Right? I mean, I think it was maybe an initial idea that and then evolved into this. I don't think Audrey Horne right now is walking into a...
I don't see Audrey in this.
No, it's definitely not. And she wouldn't be needing a little courtyard apartment. Ben Horne would put her up in the finest penthouse. So.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I like how her landlord name is Coco.
I love it. But she's another one of those characters that if it is Diane dreaming, she's recycling from her real life into her dream.
Right, because she's Adam's mom.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like, everybody in Hollywood is somebody. And just because she's managing this apartment building doesn't mean she's not still Adam's mom.
Very true.
I could see Adam saying, like, oh, my mom, she manages this little community.
She has an apartment complex.
Yeah. See, this is definitely TV pacing because we're spending minutes walking around this apartment that's going to have no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
soaking in the minutes, every little detail.
Yeah, wow. They're really milking this.
Yeah, they really are. It's like to the point I don't have anything to say. It's just all going through the house.
Oh my goodness, there's a handbag and high heels.
Handbag. Oh, I was looking up symbolism about handbags and showers. What did it say? To dream that you are carrying a purse signifies secrets which are being closely held or guarded.
Well, she does say, I feel like I'm in some sort of dream place.
That's true.
Which is kind of a Lynch staple. Now, this is a classy move by Lynch, but a surprising move. So this is in the pilot, right? I mean, you can tell this is TV nudity.
Yep.
1999 ABC TV nudity.
A-okay.
It definitely is. And I'm glad Lynch had the restraint, knowing that this was now going to be an R-rated film, that he didn't reshoot these close-ups of Laura to be like head to bosom.
Yeah.
Right?
Be like, oh, we got to get a little nudies in there.
Well, he's going to get that
a little bit more gritty. We'll get it later.
We're going to get it later.
But, yeah.
But I'm really happy that he didn't decide to kind of give us that R rating right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just right in the beginning. We got to build up to it.
Now, I remember when this movie came out, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's so great to see sort of this couple that evolves into becoming this lesbian couple, and it's so new and different for an American, mainstream film." One, this isn't a mainstream movie. Two,
yeah,
a lot of people also pushed back against this movie because they said, "Oh, great, another Hollywood movie where a lesbian relationship leads to madness and murder." And this is, of course, where she comes up with the name Rita. So, okay, so the way I look at this movie is I don't look at it as, well, Camilla is just part of Diane's reality, right? And this is part of the dream. I look at this is Camilla right now with a head concussion.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And Betty is not Diane. Betty is Betty. And I will explain as the movie goes on. But right now, she is talking to the real Camilla, just with a head concussion.
All right. Sir Concussed Camilla. I got it.
Okay. It's not a lot to say about this scene, except that Naomi Watts plays this part right here, just pretty cocky. Like, I'm just going to come in and take over Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a great actress. But if I'm a movie star, that's okay too.
I'll say this about Naomi Watts. First of all, she's from Deep River, Ontario. And Isabella Rossellini's character in Blue Velvet lived in the Deep River apartments.
Ooh.
So, but I will say this about Naomi Watts. She came into this movie, she conquered, and she's had one hell of a career so far.
She has. She killed it at this movie, and she's deserved every bit of success she's had because she is fabulous.
I mean, she managed to bring humanity to Peter Jackson's King Kong. I mean, you really believe why that giant ape would fall in love with her, you know? And then she's great as, Janie E in this summer.
Oh my gosh. She was one of my favorite parts of The Return. Janie E was so good. And she, of course, had another Netflix show. Unfortunately, that got canceled, but that'll just free her up for more Twin Peaks as as we go forward. I'm all for that. Yeah, if they bring back Twin Peaks, Janie E has to come back in some way. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they would do with her character, but she's too good to pass up. Maybe for some filler stuff in between Twin Peaks. I could just watch a couple more scenes of Dougie. Just some Dougies. We'll have Tulpa Dougie and. How about Tulpa Dougie meets Johnny Horn? How about a scene of that? Yes, that sounds great. Okay, so here we have Dan Hedaya, who's known from many, many movies, and of course Angela Badalamenti. There we go. And we have Justin Theroux apparently playing J.J. Abrams. Yep. Maybe that's where J.J. Abrams got his aesthetic. He watched this and he's like, I'm going to look exactly like that. Well, what's really funny is that there's a scene coming, later on in the movie where Camilla Rhodes, the new actress, shows up, and it's Melissa George. And Melissa George, of course, came into Alias season 3 as one of the main co-stars. And so I always looked at the scene. I was like, oh, it's J.J. Abrams casting Melissa George for season 3 of Alias. Now, this is just a deliberately funny and awkward scene. Yes. With the espresso. I love it. A lot of times with Lynch films, you really don't know whether you're going to scream or whether you're going to laugh.
And I saw that a lot, obviously, in the new series of Twin Peaks. This scene in particular, it's so bizarre. It's like, this is the weirdest Hollywood meeting you've ever seen. And yet, I can guarantee you that there's more Hollywood meetings that are like this than there are like in other like movies and TV shows you've seen. The uncomfortable silence, people, you know, in high places, ticked off they're not getting the right service, the right cup of coffee, the right espresso, right? And
and just kind of the tenseness. You can just feel all the tension.
Totally.
There she is.
Now, what's interesting is I think that's a different. Wait, let me see. Let me look. They showed again. All right, there's a different shot of that picture in the pilot. They framed it a little easier because it says Camilla Rhodes on it. And of course, Adam's like, okay, like, so when they shoved this picture to him, and he's like, Camilla Rhodes, what the hell? What the hell? Because in my interpretation, you know, he you know, he was, you know, seeing Camilla Rhodes, and now there's this other girl being shoved in his face as Camilla Rhodes in The Powers That Be, saying, you're gonna have to hire her. He's like, that girl is not in my movie. So yeah, I mean, you can look at it as like, yeah, it's Hollywood forcing an actress on him, whereas I kind of look at it as like, well, I feel like he was seeing somebody named Camilla Rhodes, and now they're recasting.
Yeah, it's like he's already had a Camilla Rhodes, but now we're having another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like how he has his golf club ready to go, though.
Yeah, just right there on the table.
Right.
Like, who just puts their golf club on a table during a business meeting?
Well, I guess J.J. Abrams does.
I guess so.
I really do. Listen, I like Justin Theroux a lot, but I still think this is the best role of his career so far. Like, he is so perfect as this filmmaker. And usually these kind of, you know, hipster directors I don't really sympathize a lot with in movies. And yet I completely sympathize with him in this movie, even though he is kind of a jerk too. You know, he walks that line from having jerky behavior to being someone like when he's dealing with the cowboy and stuff, like you're totally on his side.
Yeah. You do relate to him a little bit. You're like, I can see how this would be really frustrating, and you feel bad for him. Right.
But, you know, like a lot of directors in Hollywood, he ultimately sells out and says, this is the girl.
Yeah. And also, like, to have your wife cheat on you with Billy Ray Cyrus. Jeez.
But see, that's the thing is, you know, people will say like, well, why does he get so ticked off at that? So why does he, you know, do the whole thing with the paint and destroying the jewelry and all that? Well, especially if he's like dating Camilla Rhodes, or he was, right? Well, because that's what happens. I mean, people get upset by what they can't have, you know. I mean, look at Bobby Briggs in the first season of Twin Peaks. He's got Shelley, right? Yeah. But he's still going to go after James because Laura was seeing James.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't look at himself in the mirror and say, well, I was seeing Shelley behind Laura's back, so okay, Laura's seeing James behind. No, he's going to take it out on James. That's just what people do.
I love that. Spit out the espresso.
Yeah.
On the napkin. Classic.
And again, going with like the doubling, you have Angela Badalamenti, and then you have the other guy sitting on the other side of not the one sitting next to Adam, but they kind of double and mirror each other as well, just in terms of like body size and hair.
That's another surreal screaming moment in a Lynch movie. What's his name? Is it Dan Hedaya?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, he's in a ton of movies. He was the dad in Clueless and
Cheers. He was Carla's husband.
Tortelli.
Yeah.
Now this is just a funny, weird subplot that, like, you know, that this is supposed to be a meeting of the higher ups, but there's even people that are their bosses that are calling the shots here. This is what J.J. Abrams looks like every time he walks out of Lucasfilm. He's like, I'm going to take my golf club, They're gonna force me to
across the
put.
street.
They're gonna force me to put Mark Hamill back in this movie. Look at that gas. Was it three? What does it say? 350? It's supposed to.
Oh man.
Or what is that for?
Right.
I don't know. But see, you completely understand why he's just gonna take the golf club and start pounding the limo.
Yep. I love it.
But again, it's like he had the golf club in the meeting, right? I mean, I wish
he doesn't even have like a set. It's just the one single golf club.
I know, but I love when he runs away like a coward.
Yeah.
He's just so funny.
Yeah,
like I wish.
Like, oh, whoops.
See, I wish he had like gone to his car, grabbed the golf club, then walked over. But he just kind of walks out of the meeting with the golf club.
With the golf club, he's just had it the whole time.
Now,
I love how he has no hesitation in
Yeah.
getting that windshield. It's like, I'm doing this.
But then he runs just like a little child.
Yeah.
I like the interior of that apartment. It's like
Me too.
looks like
I want that velvet blanket.
It looks like the Great Northern.
It does. And of course, we got the velvet curtained interior.
Now in the pilot, this guy walks up to the window, but before that, he takes a long elevator ride that shows you like how far he has to travel to talk to this guy.
I'd read something that called is it Mr. Roke, Michael J. Anderson's character? They'd called him the King of Hollywood. I liked that. I'm like, okay, it's interesting. Think of it like that. King of Hollywood.
It's the head of ABC. So.
Yeah. I love that he's just off in this windowed room, just away from everyone else, and just a barrier between him and everyone else.
Well, he has to talk through glass. He's got some probably air disease or something that he's got
probably.
But he has a bodyguard in the back, so
maybe he's just like, I don't want anyone beating me up for making these decisions they don't like. I'm going to protect myself.
Exactly. Well, that's probably the room he's in when he makes those wild Facebook accusations against David Lynch. He's like, okay, Lynch can't get me through this mirrored room. He's got Jeeves back there. What does he think he is? He thinks he's the Emperor from Star Wars, apparently.
Yeah. He does such a good solemn face, just angry and solemn.
And there's the last moment. Michael J. Anderson shows up in a David Lynch movie.
Yeah.
Now, this is Mark Pellegrino. Of course, we know him as Jacob from Lost. He also plays the devil in Supernatural. He's had a really good career so far.
Yeah.
And here he is showing up with shaggy hair.
Now different colored eyes.
Yeah, now this whole thing is from the pilot. So
okay.
I don't think there's any edits done to this either. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Now, the way that I view this, I think, is Diane's way of, in her dream, making it so she doesn't feel guilty. The hitman is actually this blundering fool who keeps making mistakes after mistakes. He doesn't actually kill Camilla or Rita. He's just actually this idiot who can't follow through with anything he does, and that's her dream reality coming up with stuff to make her feel better.
Well, see, I agree with that. I think he's a complete buffoon, which is why in the way I look at it, he completely I don't think he failed in the attempt to take out Camilla with hiring those guys. I mean, obviously you can't predict a careening car of teenagers.
No.
So she probably would have died. But the car accident, as the universe likes to do, likes to change your plans. You think it's going to go one way. The universe says, no, it's going to go this way. And of course, this scene, what probably disturbed them more than the violence of this scene is probably the comedic tone of, oh man.
Yeah.
But this whole sequence was done again in season 3 of Twin Peaks with Ike the Spike. After he kills the woman, and then that other woman walks in, and he realizes he has to go kill her, and then he comes back and he's got the bent spike. So in a way, it's kind of similar.
But I think it's so funny when she's like, "Something bit me real bad." It really does bring such a comedic tone to it. It's so funny.
Yeah. I've actually heard people say, especially a lot of women, that will say that Lynch always like casts like overweight women for like comedic parts and stuff like that. You know, like think about in season 3 when you have the overweight woman at the beginning walking the dog down the hallway and stuff.
True.
Or the women in Wild at Heart making the porno film in Texas.
That's true. I never really noticed that, but
it's just
one kind of a little archetype in there.
And there's always somebody hanging out at the end of a hallway in a Lynch movie, you know, just with especially with a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. In Lynch's world, that's the place to be. You gotta go hang out at the end of hallways. It's popping.
It is. You never know when Phil Jeffries will arrive.
Yeah. Just come out of the wall.
It's pretty amazing that they dedicate like so much time to this. I mean, you can see if it's a TV show, right? I mean, this is going to be followed up in, you know, an episode or two.
Yeah.
But in the movie, this character really doesn't have that big of a arc, you know, and yet they dedicate a good, you know, he leaves the whole sequence in from the pilot. So you have, you know, good 6-7 minutes where Naomi Watts and Laura are off screen to deal with this thing that ultimately,
there's nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It kind of seems like he's got to cover up for, you know, the botched assassination attempt. He's got to he has to take out a lead, and then obviously these other people get in the way, and he does that great. Like,
oh man,
yeah, he's a great actor.
He's great.
Yeah, that's really gonna just scrub the place clean of fingerprints.
Yeah, right there. It's the only place he touched. No other fingerprints.
I mean, some of this dialogue is, I'm going to go study those lines until I know them inside out. It's like, wow. But she can roll out the most, no offense, David, some of the most banal dialogue and make it sound sincere and honest.
Can. And just make it sound interesting and engaging for us to hear as listeners. That, like, as if other people would say it, we'd be like, okay, this is dumb. I don't want to listen to this. But with her, she can make anything sound great. I'd listen to her read the phone book.
Yeah, she had a big old smile on her face. She was in the shower. Like, really? You're gonna have a big smile on your face about that? I guess Lynch looked at that and was like, I know what to do with your character. A lot of POV shots of from Betty's point of view. It's interesting. He definitely wants us inside, engaging with Betty.
If it is her having a dream as Betty, it's definitely feasible too. If we have all those POV shots, it makes it kind of definitely dreamlike, I think.
But remember, I mean, we also have to look at it as this is still a TV pilot that got an extended coda. And in the TV pilot, there is no Betty versus Diane. It's just Betty. Now, maybe Diane's name is brought up in the pilot, but it's not brought up as a idea of is there a duality? It's just there's a character named Diane, you know. But Lynch decided to add an extended coda to this and turn it inside out and upside down. So.
I want that robe. It looks cozy.
I don't know what my name is. I don't know who I am. Your name is Camilla and you're using the name Rita. You're suffering from a head trauma.
Sorry, you were concussed and you just don't know who your name is.
This is your purse. Now find me that blue box. Laura Lana Haring, she did a really great stint on The Shield TV show, season 5. She's wonderful in that show. Aren't you a little surprised that she didn't get a lot of big screen opportunities after this movie? It just basically became the Naomi Watts show.
Because they're definitely, they're like dual stars of the show, and they both bring it. Like, I am impressed with both of them. They do such a great job. And she's so beautiful and talented. It's surprising that no one scooped her up and gave her all these opportunities, because she deserved them for sure.
I like how she just keeps pulling out the money.
Yeah, she's like, money, money. Give me some of that money.
Betty's like, I could maybe stay in Aunt Ruth's apartment for a while now.
Yeah, this sounds great.
Let me just club Rita over the head and take the money.
Yeah, let's just go take J.J. Abrams' club.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Look at this key.
Here we go.
It's almost like she brought something back from the Black Lodge or something.
Yeah.
Hey,
little Black Lodge memento.
It's room 315, Betty. Let's go down to the bottom of your aunt's apartment and open the.
Do you hear that weird ethereal humming? We gotta go follow it and open the door.
Right. Now, this woman here is Rena Riffle. She was in Showgirls. She actually directed Showgirls 2, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And starred in it. I think it's called Pennies from Heaven. Now, a lot of people, which is really funny because on rewatches, a lot of people, I remember back in 2001, thought that this was Naomi Watts. Because of the scene at the end of the movie when she's dressed kind of similar, talking to Joe in the diner. They just went, oh, was that her in that scene? When it's kind of interesting. Again, Lynch is playing with wanting people to think about more dualities. I mean, especially look at Cooper, right? I mean, we have 3, maybe 4 Coopers in this new series. So it's a theme that he continues to play with.
Yeah, it's all about dualities and different identities and
timelines and alternate realities. And but again, I don't think there's past. I don't think there's future. I think there's just now, and everything's just kind of, put together.
Okay. All right.
JJ driving his car here.
Here we go. Fired everyone.
You need to come back. Kathleen Kennedy is firing everybody on the Star Wars lot. You need to save episode 9 now.
I love those tinted glasses that were so in back then. Just sunglasses all the time, everywhere you go. So cool.
I do have to say, I like his look in this movie. He just has
it definitely is iconic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great hipster look. And of course, the classic moment of those trees, and then the palm trees with the dissolve to her kind of looking up into the sky. It's the Hollywood moment,
it's the iconic fade in. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's almost like one shot's good, but together it's magic,
It is.
So Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive.
Look at the way they say it. They're always like, that's where I was going. Mulholland Drive.
Wait, that's the title of the movie.
I know, but it's like you can see Lynch just saying, say it more orgasmically, Naomi. Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive.
Like, they're so innocent. We can call anonymously on a payphone.
Call anonymously.
Now, see, kids, a payphone is a phone that used to be outside of like Denny's, and you'd put in like 35 cents and make a phone call. They don't have those anymore.
Yeah. Used to have to go home from the movies, call my mom on the payphone, pick me up.
Yeah. I remember having to use the payphone to check my messages at home, calling my answering machine and hitting like the code. Now, what is that painting in the back of them? I'd like to find out more information.
Yeah, I'd like to find out who painted that. Oh, here we go. He's coming home.
He's coming home to find Hannah Montana's papa.
Yep. Hannah Montana. There's his car. Gene Clean. What a name. Still has his golf club in hand. Is that like his security blanket? Is his golf club? He has to take it with him wherever he goes.
Yeah. Look at the red and green chair. It's interesting. I have to say, HD really makes this film look even better. Lorraine, isn't that the name of the woman that Ike killed in Twin Peaks? Yeah. with the hip hop beat music.
Paul Simon song called Lorraine. Let's go listen to lyrics. See.
And look, they're just like waiting for him. He doesn't.
Yeah, they're just like.
He doesn't catch them in the act. There's not like, what are you doing? Get off my wife. They're just like sitting there, like.
Yeah, just like, oh hey.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be bothered by this at all. Don't worry about it.
Now notice how she has the sheet just perfectly. This is ABC television at its finest here.
Oh, yeah. Perfect, because everyone just looks like that in bed when they're alone. Just kind of put the sheet up. And then his perfect mullet, Billy Ray Cyrus. Look at that.
Well, that's what got him Hannah Montana, right? So, I like how he just kind of walks through the kitchen carrying her jewelry box like the Terminator.
It's like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, Adam, don't worry about your achy breaky heart. It's okay.
Exactly. Oh, I got the paint here. And I like how he goes back into the kitchen.
Into the kitchen.
He doesn't do it. He could have just done it right there in the garage, but no, he's going to destroy the kitchen as well.
He's not worrying about time wasted. He wants to do it right.
What are you doing? It's gonna. Oh man. Hey,
she's so annoying. You can tell she like feels no guilt.
And I like how he shoves his hand in there like he's mixing a salad or something.
I'm gonna mix it up.
Oh, it's like showing the strangler.
Yikes.
Oh, of course they had to give him the big, the big
punch to the face.
Yeah, the hero moment here. That ain't no wife to treat your. That ain't no way to treat your wife, buddy.
I don't care what she done.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, she cheated on him with you. What do you think she's gonna do with you?
Yeah. This isn't time for you to be a white knight. You're not blameless here, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Aren't you surprised they didn't utilize the pool and like have him get thrown in the pool?
Yeah. They should have.
Look at the way. What a day this guy is having, right? I mean, he just, it's just wandering away, covered in paint. What a sad.
He's all bent over. Oh man, he doesn't have his golf club.
No.
What's he gonna do?
You know what? Maybe that's symbolism for now. He's impotent.
Hey.
Impotent in life with no golf club.
On money. Loss of golf club.
But look, there's the golf club in the shot in the house, though. So there it is.
Okay.
It's showing us Lynch is making.
He left his manhood behind.
Exactly. Lynch is making that very, very clear. Maybe that should have been one of the 10 clues.
It should have been. What does the golf club symbolize?
Or what does Adam forget to take with him when he leaves?
His manhood.
Let's box it up and
hat box.
Oh yeah, we're gonna keep a few $1 million in the closet.
Yeah.
Biggie. An Aunt Ruth's closet. Wow, look at the arc they go from. They go from a handshake to just fully making out in this movie.
Yeah, it escalates.
Oh, it does. Quick. Oh, it does real quick. Yeah. I can only imagine like David Lynch just sitting them down going, now listen up, girls. You know how you thought you were playing these two characters? You're not. You're playing this.
You're going to see this decomposing body and then you're going to kiss.
And yeah, and you're going to do more than that. So much so that Laura Elena Haring did not realize that the camera lighting was going to pick up her pubic hair that well. So when the DVD came out, they kind of put a smear over it so you couldn't see it fully. But Criterion did the right thing and brought it back to the original image. So
I'm glad I can see it in its pristine state. I love this. Was anyone hurt? She thinks she's so smart and sneaky.
I like it. Come on, I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Oh, and notice the blue roses in the vase?
Are those roses? They look like just like...
I don't know. Guess they could be, but if they're blue roses, that'd be pretty interesting.
That would be amazing. But even Lynch, I don't think, was trying to go that meta yet.
Yeah.
So this is in the pilot, the idea that the waitress's name is Diane. And what this... see, now Rita looks at this, and what this turns into is there's a moment in the pilot where Rita comes home and thinks that she is named Diane. She's like, I know my name. My name's Diane. And they kind of snip that out. Yeah, it's a shame that that Laura didn't get to do a whole lot more. Didn't get the opportunities that Naomi Watts did.
I know, because she is so talented. Just what she can do with her eyes and her acting is very impressive. Maybe that's my name.
That's interesting. I think there's an alternate take then in the pilot. I think it is. I think it's a different line reading. Interesting. I'll have to go back and look, because I didn't remember that moment with her coming in saying that, but definitely not in that way. So
here we go, looking through a phone book. Back when we could go look through phone books.
Look at that cordless phone. Wow, that's beautiful.
I had one like that. It's green. It's not my voice.
But I know her. So I've heard this movie being talked about as a mystery.
Okay.
Really? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's really anything. I think it's, sort of a dramatic, mysterious, I don't know, kind of film, but I don't think there's like a central mystery. There's not a who killed Laura Palmer. It's who is this girl that has no memory? That's about it.
It's more intrigue than mystery, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just kind of living in a mysterious, paranoid world.
Yeah. It's a paradox, an intriguing paradox. I don't know.
Right.
I love this guy.
Yeah, this is another just wonderful comedic moment here.
He's just larger than life. It's like, really, who does she think she is?
He barely even looks at. He just throws her aside like a fly.
She's just like on top of him, and he's like, okay.
People in the chat saying yes, the movie has mysteries, has a noir feeling. Yeah, I guess I just never really thought of this movie as like a mystery movie. It's more of like there's just these characters are trapped in a mysterious world, but I don't think there was like there's not like a central mystery.
Yeah. It definitely is film noir for sure. I think I get that vibe is emanating from it very clearly, I feel like.
Now, after this scene, there's a character named Wilkins, who's played by Scott Coffey, is shown in the pilot. Now, we see Scott Coffey's character in the second half of the movie when Adam has his party. And Scott Coffey, of course, has been in a number of Lynch's films. He also was in Some Kind of Wonderful and Shag. He was in Lost Highway. He was in the Twin Peaks season 3. But there's a scene right after this moment of Adam calling Wilkins, trying to stay at Wilkins's house, and Wilkins is saying, sure, you can come, but can you bring food? I don't have I have money, but I'm too lazy. And meanwhile, his dog is like looking at him from the couch. It's you can see why Lynch was like, okay, when I'm going to the feature film, that scene's out.
Yeah. His dog.
It's it kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of there, and so you can see that was probably one of the first cuts. Like, yeah, Scott, I'll bring you back. but yeah, that scene's gonna be out.
I love this guy's mustache.
Yeah, he's got
it's one of the biggest stars of the movie, I think.
Yeah, the Yosemite Sam look. He's and he's great because the accent kind of helps with the mystery, you know, like being told these strange things that you have to go.
You're broke.
You're broke. Your money doesn't work here.
He still has all the pink paint all over him.
I love the fact that his hair is kind of like brushed back, but it's spiked up front, and then he's got those hipster glasses on, which of course will mirror the hipster glasses that the girl is wearing at Betty's audition.
Yeah.
So maybe you shouldn't have dated Camilla. Maybe you should have, gone out with the hipster girl at the other audition.
Yeah, have matching glasses.
Yeah. I ship them.
Yes, I totes ship it. Ooh,
I love
cowboy.
I think the cowboy is fantastic.
I love him.
The cowboy, Mr. Reindeer. Lynch has such a great way of just taking simple names and making them so like scary and intense. The cowboy is played by Monty Montgomery, who was going to be the original director of Wild at Heart until he let Lynch read the book. Because he asked Lynch, he said, "Would you produce this movie for me?" Lynch says, "Okay, well, if I read this book and I like it, can I direct it?" And Monty Montgomery says, "Sure." And so we know what happened. Lynch directed Wild at Heart. Monty Montgomery produced Wild at Heart instead of directing it. So it's kind of funny that Lynch remembers him and brings him back to play the cowboy.
I love that.
And he's so good as that part.
So good.
And he's
he's
so super intense.
Oh, it gets you. So
yeah.
good.
And it's yeah. I think that's, to me, like, in a movie full of creepy moments, that is one of the creepiest. Because I remember in the theater, so many people, when the cowboy says, have a good night, and turns around and walks away, you could hear the whole audience breathe of like, oh my God.
It's like we're on the edge of our seats.
Yeah, you are. And and the way he turns and walks away, it reminds me of the mystery man in Lost Highway, when he's like, "Give me back my phone," and then he goes, "It's been a pleasure talking to you," and turns around and walks away. It's the same thing. You're like, "Oh my God, this was an amazing set piece," and I don't care if it leads nowhere. It's just great.
Before we had Google Maps on our phone, had to look at maps.
I know. I remember when I lived in Los Angeles. I probably would have lived there longer if I had like modern technology, but I didn't then. So I was like, okay, enough of this nonsense, and I left. Again, more POV shots.
Oh, and this moment's so good.
When the gypsy fortune teller shows up.
Yes.
It's probably Coco.
Just wait.
Now, see, if they were in Twin Peaks, I'd be like, oh, this is bizarre, but they're not. They're in Hollywood, and there's crazy people like this everywhere.
Creepy little gypsy fortune-telling lady in Hollywood.
Someone's in trouble. Something bad is happening. That's what I was saying all during part 18 of Twin Peaks. Something bad is happening.
Something bad is happening. Oh, there's Coco.
Now, what about Coco's robe? You like that?
Yeah, that's nice. And her big pearl earrings.
Right.
Fancy. It's a lot of looks going on in this movie. Not just that look that was just on Naomi Watts' face, where you have the close up on her face and just the lighting. It just reminded me of like a lot of old Hollywood movie shots where you have the up close light, just kind of light on the face.
Right.
With darkness in the background. Seems reminiscent of that to me.
Now, did you notice that Coco does not see Camilla?
Yes.
All right. So that again plays into my theory that because if she was Adam's mother, right, and had seen Camilla, she would be like, "What's Camilla doing here?" But
oh, hey, Camilla.
But she didn't see her, you know. But,
I see.
But I think Camilla right now is like feeling like, "Oh my God, I'm in the presence of," you know, and it's you know, David Lynch is very much somebody who believes in, you know, the feeling of spaces between people. So I think he's kind of alluding to the fact that she feels like, you know, recognizable people are around her space. I think that's why there's the pushing. But I love this scene. This whole cowboy sequence is fantastic.
So good. And you have the classic Lynch shot as the driving sequence.
Right. There's not too many of the, you know, that you know, where you just see the lines of the road shot. He kind of held back on this one. When
you're in the POV of the car kind of deal.
Exactly. The shot that he's been doing since Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
Now this insert here is from the pilot. So, you know, I always thought that this insert of the light with the cow skull was maybe added for the movie, but it wasn't. So a lot of the stuff that people love about this movie was in the 1999 TV pilot. So it just goes to show you that, you know, what won him Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival could have won him an Emmy instead 2 years earlier.
True. I love that he still just has the pink paint on him. He hasn't tried to change.
I agree. And look at his hair. It's even like his hair is so spiked now.
It gets crazier and crazier. Like
I know.
Because he's probably getting crazier and crazier as all this awful stuff is happening.
Well, he's driving around a convertible, right? So that doesn't help.
Oh, true.
And two, right now he's got the total eraser head look.
Oh my God, so Jack Nance right now.
Now, see, if I could walk around town dressed like this, like the cowboy, not Adam with the pink paint, but look at the jacket with the handkerchief. It's perfectly placed, and you could just walk around looking so normal yet so evil at the same time.
Yeah. I went to an agricultural college for a little while, and there were a lot of guys dressed up like that on the daily at my school.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's right, because you're not a California kid.
Nah, I'm a Salt Lake City girl.
Never been there.
It's pretty cool if you stay clear of the Mormons.
But I like how the cowboy kind of calls Adam out, like, so what did I say? Or are you too smart? You know?
Yep, I love that. Call him out.
I know.
Because he's got that egotistical thing about him. He needs to be put down a notch.
It's almost like Lynch, like talking, you know, telling off millennials before that was a thing.
It's like, oh, hey,
hipster.
What did I say? Are you really listening to me?
And look, I mean, even though, you know, people in the chat are saying that, oh, Monty couldn't remember his lines, so they had cue cards. Well, listen, I don't care what they did. It's perfect because he's barely blinking and it's scary as all heck. You know, he either blinks too much or never.
Yeah. It's like he blinks all at once and then stops.
Yeah. George in the chat says, I was born in Salt Lake City. Danielle, represent.
Yeah. Woo.
I like this. If you're going to fix your attitude, you can ride along with me. It's like, oh my goodness. I don't want to be anywhere near you, cowboy. And now you want me to ride in a buggy with you? No, thanks.
Go on a little buggy ride with the cowboy? Nah.
Exactly. When you see the girl that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, pause, this is the girl. It's like, oh my God, so scary.
Yikes.
You know, it's almost like, you know, Lynch and Blue Velvet had Now It's Dark in this movie. This is the girl, you know, It's there seems to be little taglines that he likes to do, and
yes,
and he repeats them over and over again, so it definitely stays with you. I love it when he says, "You'll see me 2 more times if you do bad. Good night." Just turns and walks away. It's just like everybody in the theater. I just remember it doesn't matter. I mean, I saw it 3 times in the theater. Everybody was always just like, "Oh," like after the scene.
If you do bad, you'll see me again.
Yeah, you should like say that to like a boyfriend sometime. If you do bad, you'll see me 2 more times. Good night. Just say that the first time he walks you to the door.
Yep, and just that's all I say, and then I just go inside and shut the door.
There you go. Make him feel like he has to call you. Like,
yeah, be like, so what did that mean?
Just don't answer for 2 days.
Be like, you'll find out.
It's so funny how people, when they first see this scene, like have no idea that they're acting, that that she's rehearsing the lines. People actually, the first time you see this movie, so many people just assume they're in an argument, and you're like, about what?
Oh wait.
And then it's
I mean, you only think it for like the first 2 seconds, and then you see that they have their lines.
Right. And again, this shows how Naomi Watts is such a great actress, because she, and even though it is dictated in the script, teleplay, whatever, to do this, the fact that she can pull this off is amazing. So she's delivering these lines like perfectly, but in a way, it's very much like the normal way you would say these lines, right? Even though she's delivering them flawlessly.
Sounds like just like you would hear someone in real life.
But then when she goes into the audition and she flips the script, so she does it all in like whispers, and it's that's where I think the dimensions come in. You go, oh my goodness, this actress is someone to never take her eyes off of. Yeah. Oh, she does see Camilla here.
Oh, here we go.
This is interesting. But again, she's at the door.
Sure.
And she's, even though she does look nice, she's not.
And she's old. Who knows? Maybe she has cataracts. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But again, it's not like a full on, door to door.
Yeah, it's a screen.
It's exchange. And look, I can't even see through that door. So
it's true. And she just must have a closet full of kimonos.
Look at that little pink barrette she's got in her hair.
Oh, man. I totally rocked some of those barrettes back then. Those were hot.
They were?
Oh, yeah. Barrettes. Big time.
I know, but she's dressing like a high school kid.
I know. She is. Like, I mean, I was, 10 during this time,
right,
so
well,
of course I was rocking colorful barrettes, I guess.
I was going to say, I mean, Betty's not playing with strawberry shortcake either, so. Remember last night? Yeah, how can I forget? How can I forget the creepy fortune teller gypsy at my door?
Creepy gypsy at my door. Had a couple nightmares about it. Don't worry, I didn't forget it.
Jamie in the chat says, I totally rocked those barrettes in 1999 too. That was the thing. Oh, yeah.
Barrettes were big. I had one with my name on it. Like said Danielle and had little flowers. Oh, my audition's in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go make a sandwich.
Totally. Now, let's see. This is new. This was added for the movie. The 2 guys driving by.
Little ominous feeling.
And this is new.
Don't drink all the Coke.
Yeah, it's so like it's like, I mean, no offense, but it's kind of like student film screenplay here.
Yeah.
But when you have talented people writing and acting and directing, they can pull off anything. This is new as well. There's
Sunset Boulevard car.
And that's also the Paramount lot. And but like that look, which is so iconic, not in the pilot of her getting out of the cab.
Big breath. Look of optimism.
James Karen, I love this guy. We got Chad Everett in the background. And God, I'm sorry, I can totally space on the name, but the guy who's playing the director was one of Jack Nance's best friends. And so that was another reason why he's there. Now, the one with the hipster glasses there, that is actually Michelle Hicks. And for those, we got some Shield fans here in the chat. She actually played Shane's wife in the Shield, which is a huge role. She came in, I believe, in season 2, and then or season 3. I don't know, but she was all like in the majority of this series, and she's a fantastic character. The character you love to hate in the Shield, and here she is playing hipster assistant.
She's fabulous.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If Adam met this girl with the glasses, I mean,
he forget everyone else. Let's go be hipsters with our cute glasses and be in love.
Exactly. He wouldn't have to deal with the cowboy.
No.
Now, this is something that happens in Hollywood every day. Let's see. An aging actor decides to have his way with a new starlet coming into audition.
Bringing all the creep.
Yeah, but he kind of plays it off like, oh, I'm gonna just do my thing here, and don't mind if I grab your ass in front of all these people.
Yeah. We're gonna do it real close, like with that brown hair girl.
Yeah.
He's so orange. Like, wow.
Well, he's not Donald Trump though, so.
Not quite that orange. He's more George Hamilton, a little bit in there. I don't know.
People are in the chat are yelling at me to change my theory about things. No, because I can poke holes in all your theories too. So we all look at the film differently, guys.
Nothing is right. Nothing is wrong. David Lynch just wants us to have our own takes.
Exactly. And usually I'm very much like, no, there's a certain way to look at films, but not his work.
Mm-mm.
I like how everybody's like kind of creeped out by what.
Yeah, they're like, ew.
And look at even her face is like, But then what makes her amazing is that she flips it, and then she takes control of the whole scene.
She does.
And this is the scene that makes Naomi Watts a superstar. And the funny thing about it is, like I said, this scene is in the pilot. So it's not like, oh, Lynch went back and gave her a really like meaty scene for the feature film. No, this would have been in 1999.
She's been this great the whole time.
Yep. And you know, she was busy making Children of the Corn 4 while this was sitting on the shelf. Actually, no, she made that before.
What a classic.
Hey, she's in Children of the Corn 4, so.
Oh, and the whispering in the scene. I love that. Go side to side.
See, it's such the opposite of what she was doing with Rita, you know? And yet there's like no way that they probably would ever film the scene like this in the movie, but she's probably making them also reevaluate how to do the scene in the movie too.
Mm-hmm. And it's very instinctual. Like you could tell maybe David Lynch is going off how he does things. Like he'll go into things and go off of his mood and how he's feeling it, and that's how she his character.
I thought you were going to suggest that this is the way he auditions actors. He's like, come here. He's like, come here.
Awful.
He's like, come here, Christabel.
Christabel, come here. No, I can tell that like he.
Let's see if you're ready for the Blue Rose team, Tammy.
No, like how Betty's instinctual and goes off of mood. That's how David Lynch is with his filmmaking.
Right.
Not Ellie.
I like how she's got
funny.
her hand. She's got her hand there, like she's holding the knife.
Got a knife.
She's like, "I will kill you."
So good.
That's great.
And look, he's stunned.
Oh yeah.
He can't even act through it.
Well, he can. He notice how he's probably all his blood's gone to his pants.
Yeah.
So,
He can't think. How do I act again?
but look, she's completely in the scene.
Oh man. She's perfection. Mm-hmm. She knows how good she was. She feels it. In a way, she kind of deserves the cockiness she kind of has, because she is that good. But
I don't think she knew she was going to be that good. Because if she knew she was going to do that, she would have practiced that.
Yeah, that's true.
But she played it in the moment. So I like how Bob's like, very good, really. It was a little forced, maybe, but
It's like, oh, come on.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, he gets the groan line in the audience. Yeah, it's a great cast in this scene.
So good. I love his old man golf sweater. Plaid.
Excuse me, I like the casting agent and the hipster lady. They're just like, okay, let's take Betty out.
Yeah, be like, see ya.
Mark's getting all uppity in the chat. He's like, she was only that good because she actually felt like the character in a vulnerable way. Well, I think that's the point, Mark.
Yeah.
George says Bob is every Hollywood pretentious director.
Uh-huh.
I like how they're just like, she's a slam dunk.
A plus.
Okay, look at this actress, right? What's her name? Michelle Hicks playing the hipster girl. Look at the way she just walks down that hallway, not giving a crap about anything.
She owns it. Like, she has the walk down. Like, just her little movements.
Listen, she doesn't
Look
have
at her fold her arms.
I know she doesn't have the latte, all right, but she's owning it. The way she hits that elevator, and yeah.
She was like hipster aesthetic before hipster aesthetic was here.
Yeah.
The original hipster.
I like how they're like, we can just get a little catty sometimes, and they're all, yeah. And in a way, this is like one of the most like human interactions in the entire movie.
It is.
Between these three. And now we go to one of the great scenes of in the movie, the audition scene.
Sparkle.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is absolutely gorgeous. Using these two songs, you know, Lynch is just he knows how to use 50 songs in a way that other filmmakers don't.
He really does.
I like how he's got the two African American actors too. You gave him the doo-wop hair and stuff. It's just great. It's so like awesomely cheesy.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And their feathered skirts and their dresses. It's fabulous.
Right. It's kind of like he was watching John Waters' Hairspray or something, got inspired.
But what David Lynch can do with the sound with his movies, just through soundtrack and just all the background noise, is just amazing. He knows how to pick the music so well.
But I think this is the moment when I'm in the theater when I said this is the best movie I've seen all year. When she comes walking in and Adam turns around and they lock eyes, because now it's almost like all the plot threads are coming together.
Yep. Everything is intertwining.
And he looks scared to death. But see, I was kind of hoping when I first saw this movie, I was kind of hoping that she would audition for him and get the part, and then that would put Adam's life in danger because he didn't cast the other Camilla. But obviously, we're not going that way. Yeah. But that would have been a cool way to go. I gotta say, Justin Theroux in the scene. I mean, I love him in a lot of the movie, but this is like my favorite little part. The way he talks to the actress, he's very like nice and humble with her. Like, hey, you know, don't worry, I gotta audition other people, but I really want you to be in it. And then he comes back, and when they say Camilla Rhodes, and he starts watch his hand when they say Camilla Rhodes, he like completely like shakes it, right? So he just the way he plays the fear. And then he turns it around by sitting down, taking a puff of his cigarette, and blowing out a caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, like circle ring. It's fantastic. That's a perfect circle ring.
Yeah, way to go, Justin Theroux.
All right. Now, this is Melissa George. She was huge part of Alias season 3, and again, this just completely looks like J.J. Abrams. I didn't even really think about that until like I don't know, a short time ago. Somebody goes, "Doesn't he look like J.J. Abrams?" And I went back and I was like, "Oh my god,
he does."
And this is another great song.
So good.
But now here's my question for you. Do you think that this actress going under the name Camilla Rhodes is aware that there's these powerful people that want her to get the part, and she's just kind of like, you know, I'm just gonna kind of do kind of like a half-ass thing, but I'm gonna get the part anyway? Or do you think that she's unaware of the powers that be pulling the strings for her?
I think that she is aware. I think that this is Diane's, if it is Diane's dream, you know, this is her splitting Camilla into two people. Like, as the innocent part of her, she puts into Rita, and then she has this other corrupt part that she names Camilla, and she puts kind of the corrupt, getting all the parts, kind of in a seedy way, part that Camilla, real life Camilla, was. So I do think that she's probably aware. But they don't make that clear, I don't think.
No, they don't. But she does.
So it's really up
but when she but when she enters the to go to the mic, she definitely seems like nervous. But if you had knowing you were going to get the part, why would you act nervous, right? So I'm just always wondering if she was aware of that.
Who knows?
And they lock eyes one more time.
She runs away. Like Cinderella. She's wearing the blue too.
That'd be great though if she left a shoe behind.
Yeah, just leave the little glass slipper. Another palm tree scene, real good. It's almost kind of vibrating, so it's kind of cool. Very just kind of disturbed. Ooh, that's very reminiscent of Cooper taking Carrie through. Does it look familiar? Driving through, trying to find something. Does it look familiar? Cooper driving Carrie through Twin Peaks.
Well, even the scene in where Cooper says goodbye to Bush now is from the Straight Story. I mean, at the exact moment. So he definitely was kind of aping from all his films.
For sure.
Now, where are you? What's going on?
They just got out of the taxi.
Okay. Let me know when they get to the sign in the courtyard, because my image froze.
All right. Let's see.
They go through like a little hallway, and
yeah, they're walking through the hallway, and now they're looking at the sign.
Beautiful.
Sierra Bonita Apartments.
They look like, I don't know, it's they look down to earth, but they also look incredibly dressed up.
Yes, they are very put together and pristine.
Mm-hmm. I ship them.
Yeah.
Now look at this, like the way they react here, where she's like, "Now you got me scared." There is no reason to be scared of these guys.
No, they have no guilt. Like, presumably, there's nothing going on wrong yet. So
right. I mean, we don't know who this lady is, who this giant suitcase is, and it doesn't even matter. No. Right? Because it doesn't play into this at all. But we're just gonna. But I think it just helps to be in this paranoid state.
Yeah. It helps you put you on edge and definitely get you in that paranoid state for sure.
George says he loves Betty's suit. Super cute.
It's real good.
And, you know, Rita might not know who she is, but she's definitely accentuating. her top is very...
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to flash Betty the goods here.
Yeah, she's got a style, and she's going to flaunt what she has.
I like that insert shot of their feet walking, showing their shoes.
Love it. But maybe she's wearing Betty's clothes, so they're just too small for her.
Maybe. Maybe.
Number 12.
Now this is all still the pilot. This is not part of the feature film yet.
Betty, wait.
So this is like when the neighbor, right? The neighbor like took over.
Yeah. She's like, oh, she doesn't live here. We switched apartments.
Well, they must have switched apartments a while ago because Diane's dead in the other room, in the other house. I mean.
But is it Diane? Who knows?
I like that, like, pearl necklace she's got. In a way, I know this sounds silly, but like in a way, the way the two girls look here, or even all three of them, it's like the most modern, like sophisticated, like Lynch has had like actresses look in his movies. Usually he goes for that 50s kind of feel.
Yeah, he really does.
But he kind of went modern 2000 here.
He did.
Which is kind of funny, even though they're still not wearing jeans.
No.
If you go back and look at his work, like only like Laura Palmer and maybe one other character in his entire filmography ever wears a pair of jeans. Everybody else is in mini skirts and dresses.
It's okay. I never wear jeans either, so I can relate, I guess. But it's kind of weird that he just is like, okay, no jeans.
No, jeans means you're corruptible in his world, apparently.
I guess so. I love how we start the movie with Betty being all like innocent, seems like she's such a good girl kind of thing. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, let's break and enter. It's fine.
Well, this goes into my theory about the movie too, because I think she's getting drawn more and more into Camilla's story here, right? She's now to the point where she's committing, breaking and entering, like you said, to find out what is going on with this woman. She's very curious, and pretty soon the universe is going to be like, You know what? You want to know so badly? We're going to show you. I think she can't even jump up the window.
It's like, come help me.
It's like so innocent here, and you can tell, right? I mean, this is like a TV pilot here. There's no indication whatsoever that they're gonna start, making out in about 5 minutes.
No.
With those sleeves that Camilla has, I'm surprised she's not like, Lynch didn't turn this into some sort of like witch thing or something where she's like putting I put a spell on you.
We could have a little witch.
That'd be great. He turns into Charmed.
Then we just turn this into an annual Halloween watching movie.
Right. George says Betty wore jeans in an earlier scene. Yes, she did. And look what happens to her in this movie.
Yeah, now she's corrupted.
Yeah, that's the middle of her arc. More POV shots here. For a movie that has a lot of characters, they definitely keep putting us in characters' heads, They
do. Now, if this is Diane's dream, I like to think that she starts out trying to hold on to this innocence, and as we get more and more farther into her dream, she has all of like her corruption and guilt and repression creeping in, and then now as she gets kind of faced with it right now as she sees the body a little bit, and things keep coming in. Corruption.
And the way I look at it is, this is Diane Selwyn. And Betty and Camilla have wandered in on her body. And then we'll go from there.
I think that it's a symbolic thing of how Diane will eventually die or kill herself. Or it's her inner thoughts in her dream telling her that.
I love this dissolve. I love that dissolve when they run out of the door and there's like 2 or 3 of them that come running out.
Yes.
All right. So coming up here is, she says, let me help you, cut your hair. Cause obviously, Camilla's all scared to death that someone's going to come and kill her. So let me change my look. And we definitely get the Ingmar Bergman persona type of moment here of them having the similar hairstyles.
Now, see what I get here, at least in addition to that, is this moment is very Vertigo reminiscent. Towards the end of the movie, when Jimmy Stewart has Kim Novak change her hair so she looks more like his love, and I get a lot of that kind of reminiscent Vertigo stuff.
All right, so in the pilot, this is the second to last scene in the pilot. It goes, I'm not kidding you, it goes from this scene to it dissolving to the bum behind the dumpster, and then that's the end of the pilot.
What? That's so Lynch.
Right? Now, so then now we jumped forward a year. Now can you tell that Naomi Watts looks a year older here? She doesn't look bad. She looks great.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell there's a time difference here. And now here comes Lynch going, it's time to earn that R rating, everybody.
Like, you just saw a dead body. Now go make sweet, sweet love.
Yeah, she's like, you don't have to wear that in this house.
The towel? No, the wig. I was just looking at myself again.
Roger Ebert called this like one of the most erotic moments in cinema history. I kind of agree with Naomi Watts, though, saying like if you kind of know the movie, it's not really erotic. It's just really sad and tragic.
Yeah, it is.
See, yeah, they in my version they blurred out the pubic hair.
Okay.
This is the streaming version. Let me know if the Criterion puts it back. If you read that was a Laura Elena Haring request for the home video release.
Okay. For it to be blurred?
Yep.
Okay. She didn't want anyone to see her bush.
No, she didn't want screenshots. She was afraid because the internet was just kind of coming out, and she didn't want like screenshots going everywhere. So
that makes sense. Now, if this is a dream, this is definitely like wish fulfillment of Diane trying to live out the love and affection she wanted from Camilla.
So the way I look at it is this is Betty, who's she's now touching the fire a little too closely. And because obviously she doesn't know about Camilla's past with Diane. And because Camilla still is under the head trauma. So, right. So she's still going by Rita. And right after the Club Silencio, after this scene, it's when the universe goes, okay, you're getting too close here. You really want to know what happened? Okay, we're gonna show you what happened. And the Club Silencio scene is what makes the transference of and we'll get to that, but
yeah. Have you done this before? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great line. I wonder how many takes David Lynch did of this scene.
I know.
He's like, you know what, Naomi, we're gonna go one more time.
Cup that boob one more time. Do it this way.
Kareem says, I don't understand why an actress would be naked in a film, but then worry about people sharing screenshots. Let me ask you something from a female perspective. Do you look at this scene as an erotic scene, or how do you view this scene?
I don't think it is a little bit erotic, but I also think it's very affectionate. I don't think it's so much like it gets hot and steamy, but also I think it's two people who are in love. So I don't know. I think a lot of people think that because it's two girls that automatically makes it just hot and steamy and very erotic, but I don't know.
Are they in love though, or is it? I don't know. It's still a little bit of lust. I mean, they've only known each other.
Still a little bit of lust. Like they're saying they love each other. I don't know, but
yeah, I think Betty jumps into relationships a little too fast.
Yeah. But also, if it's Diane's dream, she definitely loves Camilla, so she's projecting those feelings. Sure. That she has into her dreams.
I like how,
or wanting like the wish fulfillment kind of deal.
I like how Laura's saying Silencio, no high banda, but she's saying it perfectly with Betty's lips right there. Like it's just like she's kind of speaking for her through the mouth. I gotta just say this: if you're ever in a relationship and your partner starts doing anything like this next to you in bed, just break up with them now.
It's not okay. Or call an ambulance. They're having a stroke.
Yeah. Remind me if I ever have a heart attack to just scream out Silencio.
Yeah, Silencio.
Before I drop to the ground.
That's my heart attack password right there. It's like, no, it's not okay.
I think it'd be cool though at 2 a.m. to go like, you know what? After a night of hot, steamy sex, let's go to the craziest club we can find.
Let's go to this creepy secret show.
Right. And And I love the fact that Lynch kind of shoots this in like 16 millimeter when they get into the cab, because it's just all crazy. You can just see Lynch just running down the street with the camera, and it goes out of focus. He's like, I don't give a crap.
This is how I'm feeling today. This is my mood.
Exactly. I don't care when anyone says, what the hell? This is it.
What the hell?
I love the fact that they're kind of in matching blonde hair, and
you
say Vertigo, and I agree, but I also say Persona. If you ever seen like the images of Persona,
it's both. I feel both of them.
Lynch is so inspired. He claims he's not, but he's seen imagery before. Come on, we're not dumb here.
He's seen imagery. He's taken symbolism and references from classic movies, even though he won't admit it.
Even the paintings from the season 3, right? I mean,
so much Magritte. I feel like just
But I love this sort of Sam Raimi shot when they get out those Club Silencio, and the camera just rushes towards them with the wind and the trash everywhere. It's fantastic.
Sorry, there's fireworks going on outside my window.
It's okay.
I can't. You can hear that.
I can't hear.
I don't know.
So
who's doing fireworks?
So here we are at the White Lodge, and that apparently is supposed to be Ronette and Laura. They're sitting in the.
Hey, yep. A magician.
I have to say, this whole scene is as spellbinding as the entire Jeffrey, Dorothy Valance, Frank Booth attack in Blue Velvet. Like, for these 10 minutes this scene is on, there is not a pin dropping in the movie theater.
No.
And I say the White Lodge just because the scene where the fireman or the giant in Twin Peaks season 3 lifts up in the air with Senorita Dido, it's this location.
And the opera house.
And I was saying to Danielle before, like, wouldn't it have been awesome if he had the lady with the blue hair just, like, sitting up there, and when the Laura orb got floating through the air, that would have been hilarious.
What if we would have just had Major Briggs' head just floating there in the audience?
Well, with modern technology, we can make that happen.
Yes, we'll just add it in to the next edition Criterion puts out.
But you know what?
Put it in there.
Anything could have happened from this point on, right? I mean, we have this trumpet player comes out, and then of course he removes the trumpet and shows that he's not really playing. I mean, what would have happened if like the drapes parted and we saw a screen that said 1945 with an atom bomb? I mean, we would have been like, okay, like,
all right, that makes sense,
right? I mean, like,
it's
Lynch could have thrown anything at us in this next hour. And I think we still would have come away with the same effect of,
what's going on? And then we would come up with our own ideas and theories. And
yeah, but I do think this scene is mesmerizing. And when Lynch is doing surreal to be surreal, sometimes it can be like, I get what you're doing, but, can we kind of hurry it up a little bit? Let's move on a little bit. But this is like completely... like, wow. And look at the way, like, he's on stage, we see the woman in the balcony, and that's pretty much like her shot, and then we don't get the close-up till the end. And look at the way Naomi Watts, like, her muscles all tight with her shaking like that.
I was looking up earlier dream symbolism, and it says that shaking means you're getting rid of former ways of thinking. So like when he says listen, it's like he's doing like his magic word to be like, listen, you need to remember your reality. This is your dream world. You can't repress your guilt anymore.
And see, I take it as we are making we're going to make a transition here. And I love the fact that the movie ends with the word silencio, but silencio isn't even brought up until an hour and 21 minutes into this movie.
Oh, I love that. All the blue lighting matching her hair.
Yeah, as George says in the chat, it doesn't get any bluer. Hey, look, it's the guy. Isn't that the guy from outside J.J. Abrams' apartment?
Hey, it is.
That's cool.
It's his job on the side.
Yeah.
His night job.
Listen, I knew a guy that
Ooh.
drove a cab, and at night he was an Elvis impersonator. So
Mhm.
you know, there are people who moonlight in different, especially
Yeah.
in theater, right?
Have
And
you heard? I love this. It's
this
Rebecca Del Rio.
yeah, this is Rebecca Del Rio's like introduction to the Lynch universe.
Mhm.
She of course is doing a Spanish version of Roy Orbison's Crying, which is funny because Roy Orbison, of course, was brought back to prominence with Blue Velvet.
Yeah. Now, I love that she is called the Crying Lady Ballet, La Llorona, because I've done a lot of research on La Llorona, and her legend, it's just fits in with this so perfect, because it's about a Spanish American legend of a woman who's been jilted by her husband, and she ends up killing herself and her children, ends up being stuck between the spirit world and the living world, weeping and crying out for her children and haunting everyone. So, pretty perfect for this movie, I think.
And yet IMDb has her listed as Rebecca Del Rio playing Rebecca Del Rio. And again, this shows Lynch's mastery because any other filmmaker pulling a scene like this, you'd be like, what are we doing here? And yet he's able to slow this movie down, do this moment, which maybe doesn't intellectually make sense, but thematically and emotionally it does. And they get completely emotional. The audience gets completely emotional. And when she drops to the ground and the song continues playing, even though we already got kind of tipped off with that with the trumpet player, right? He was playing the trumpet, and then he showed that he wasn't really playing. Now we're being shown that she's not really singing; she's lip syncing, and yet they were moved to tears by a lip sync performance. It's it, it's it's amazing. Like I mean, like you can hear the audience just almost feel betrayed when she falls to the ground, like they got suckered in, just like Betty and Camilla did, you know. And
Yeah.
it's almost like Lynch is saying, I can make you feel, I can move you to tears, and then show you that it was all for nothing.
It was all nothing. And just the fact that it's a tape recording, it's not all real. It's if you think like if it is Diana's dream, it's like it's not a tape recording. It's like this is not all real. This is all a dream. None of this is reality. It's all a tape recording.
And yeah, I look at
In
it
your brain.
as well, this is just the kind of funky show that Hollywood puts on at 2 a.m.
I think that this scene, the Silencio, Club Silencio, is her coming to terms with her reality and not realizing she can't repress it anymore. This is her dream. She has to face the guilt of what she's done to her lover. I think they're both starting to realize that.
And yet I look at this scene and think Betty realizes that she's crossed the point of no return and she's screwed.
And I think Rebecca Del Rio falling down and dying is symbolic of
you think she died? I thought she just was she just passed out from the performance.
It could be. I don't know. I think like fake dying. I don't know. I think in some way, whether she's dying, falling down, passing out, it's reminiscent
right
of what's going to happen to Diane in the future.
And here's the blue box. Dun dun dun. Again, this is like we've now jumped into Inland Empire, Twin Peaks season 3 territory. They're rushing home because they have like the Hellraiser box with them.
We gotta find her answers right now.
This is the lament configuration. You opened the box. We came. Now you must come with us. That'd be so awesome. The Cenobites show up in this movie. Let's take the hat box down and find the key.
Hat box. Let's find our. Let's open up Pandora's box with the blue key.
She's like looking around, like,
hey, the heck? What happens? Where are you? I think that once the Key and the box are in the same room, it causes her to jolt back into reality. I
Okay.
don't think it can be in the same place.
Okay.
Or at least causes them to be apart.
Yeah, I just look at it completely differently.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, but you know the funny thing is
Look
I
at
can
it so
totally see like why
Mhm.
you would say that, why you would think
Same
that.
with everything you told me about what you think it's
Oh,
all.
just wait till this next.
Everything is feasible.
Let's just wait till this moment, and then I'll talk. Take out the key.
Handbag.
Yeah.
Love how just carefully she goes in.
Tony says an opening to a gateway. This reminds me of the closing themes of season 2 of Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
She turns the
1, 2, 3.
It's like a yeah.
Jolt you back to reality. Or
That's so fascinating the way you look at it. Okay, see, now this is how I look at it. I look at it as the universe is saying, okay, Betty wants to know what's going on here. She's putting her hands too close to the flame. Camilla, you know, almost died in that car accident, but she's been running around as Rita. She hasn't paid for past sins. Betty's wanting to get too close. They've like consummated their relationship. This is too much, right? So I think the universe is saying, Betty, you want to know what happened? All right, we're going to show you what happened. We're going to take you back in time, and we're going to make you live out the final days of Diane. And you are not going to be able to change history. You're going to just sit there and be inside of her until she dies. And then you're going to be on the bed.
whoa.
It's sort of like Groundhog's Day to me. I feel like the universe is punishing them for wanting to get too close to the mystery. And so
that's very intriguing.
So while Diane does wake up here, she's waking up, but because Diane is played by a different actress. So now we're going to see Diane played by Naomi Watts, but it's basically what Diane looks like. You know, it's not Naomi Watts. She's playing the part, but she has a different. People would see her looks like the other actress who played Diane. You know.
Okay.
And so basically, she is being, in my opinion, I feel like she is being forced to live out the final days of Diane when Diane and Camilla were having problems, and she ordered the hit on Camilla. And then she has to she basically gets trapped in Diane's body and kills herself.
Okay. I really like that take. It's very cool.
No, you probably think I'm nuts.
No, I don't.
I'm scared to look in the chat right now because I'm sure the people in the chat are like, you're full of crap. But I've just always thought that she wants to know. She's so giddy. She's so wanting to know everything about this is going to be so great. Let's call on the payphone. We can talk anonymously, and let's make out. Let's not knowing that the universe is like, you know what? Camilla was in a relationship with Diane. Now she's kind of bringing you into her world. So you want to know so badly? Here you go. You're now Diane. We're going to flip it back.
Okay.
Does that make any sense whatsoever to you?
No, it really does. Like, I think that's quite feasible. It's not like I still have my own take on it, but I can see how you would have that take, and I like it.
But I think it's interesting how you and other people would watch this movie and immediately come away with your take. Mm-hmm. And I watched the same movie and came away with my take. Like, I didn't sit there and after the movie and ponder it. Mm-hmm. When I watched it for the first time, this is what I assumed was happening.
Right away. I love that.
And so because that was my initial thing, and then when I watched it again, I still looked at it that way. I just have never, in whatever the 16 years this movie has been out, I've just never looked at it as a dream. I can see it, but I just never, that wasn't my gut impression when it was playing in front of me.
I get it though. I could see how you could take that away. I love how we can all just have such different takes on one movie.
But I also think that, you know, Lynch plays with dream narratives, and like I said, he has characters talk about, I had a dream last night, but he rarely, like, you know, even Lost Highway, he really did turn into Balthazar Getty as Pete Dayton. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't like a dream, even though some people will say, oh, you know, it's the psychogenic fugue and all that stuff. But in the movie, it's played as reality. He really did turn into this other person, you know? So in a way, it's like Lynch does ask you to accept the dream narrative, but I also think that a lot of what he does is on the surface too, you know? And I think that's what makes it so powerful, because you're able to, with your mind and what you bring into it, plug in the details.
I love it. I love that he can do with dream narratives that no one else can. And it's not cliche. Like, a lot of people, like when they make movies about dreams, it can be so cliche and just overdone. But with him, it's new every time. Even though he does so many dream narratives, it's different and amazing each time.
Yeah. People are asking in the chat, like, well, who would force her to be Diane? The universe, fate. I mean, if you look at David Lynch's work, I mean, The Elephant Man, you know, playing with the stars, story also with this, he's really big into the universe and fate and you know, trusting in your instincts. And then people are also asking about, like, the kind of the jilted narrative of this section. Well, again, we're getting it. The way I look at it is, it's just time condensement. It's making her just live out the day-to-day just banalness of this life.
Roger, this scene where she's making coffee. Just the banality of it. The first time I watched this, I was like, that is the weakest coffee I've ever seen anyone make in a movie. And it's a Lynch movie, and it's like,
yeah, it's definitely not just it's not the Lynch brand, let me tell you.
No, it's just like such watered down, watery coffee. So it kind of shows how she's become so much weaker and more of a cowardly person.
Right.
I don't know.
And again, I mean, like, she comes to the couch and she no longer has the coffee, right? It's now a drink and and all that, and we get now more naked Naomi Watts.
Mini shorts this time. I guess they're kind of they're jean shorts. We got some jeans in there.
Exactly. She is trouble with a capital O. Yeah, Lynch is like, okay, now for this scene, girls, you're gonna have to get naked again. I'm sorry, but the script calls for it.
And your lipstick's still gonna be perfect, even though you're making out. Right. It's not gonna get ruined at all.
Well, this isn't quite so bad as the Naomi Watts crying masturbation scene that's coming up.
Yeah.
I saw this movie with a friend, and she was like, "Oh, I hate that feeling." I'm like, "What feeling is that?" "Oh, you know, when you want affection, you want, you know, an orgasm, but you can't, so you just cry yourself into one." I'm like, I've never been there, but thank you for sharing that.
Oh, that's sad.
I know. Yeah. Horrifically sad.
Yeah. Oh, that's very sad.
Oh, Philip in the chat is screaming at me, blaming the universe and fate is clutching at straws. It's not in the film. Let me tell you something. Of course, yes, it is in the movie, and it's in all of Lynch's work. I don't accept Mulholland Drive as being a standalone piece. It's part of Lynch's oeuvre, if that's the word. You know, it's they're all of a piece. Okay, they are, and Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire are of a piece of the piece. You know, they're a trilogy within the work itself. Now it's funny, this whole scene with the car with Adam and Camilla, this is like the big scene that they released to all the film review shows back in 2001. So when Siskel and Ebert were talking about this show, this was the scene they would show. And it was like, I remember like watching all those shows with friends, and they're just like, I'm getting really tired of seeing this scene.
Yeah. Let Diane stay. She can watch this.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, like, Camilla is like, you know, to me, I feel like Camilla before her car accident just seemed like a very vengeful lover.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't care. She's like, I'm done with Diane.
She wants to get to the top, and she doesn't care who she hurts in her path.
And yet the ironic thing is, she gets in a car accident, and they're just going to swap her out with another Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, if she was an actress of note, there'd be news headlines in the newspaper that Camilla was missing.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody even asks about her, just like nobody really asks about Audrey Horne either.
Yeah.
She's gone, and people accept it.
She's gone.
And then I love this, just the fact that,
out.
Yeah,
Angry eyes.
but then the cut to them just screaming at each other in the doorway is so great. And now we start getting some F words, which Lynch is like, I'm going to get this R rating. I don't think
this isn't TV pilot anymore.
Yeah. The nudity is not good enough for me. I need some curse words.
Yep.
And then, you know, what's funny is like, I mean, like I said, you know, you get this TV pilot, and then the film switches, and just look at how much like nudity and sexuality is in the second half compared to the first half.
It's so much more gritty, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, here's our sad masturbation scene.
Yeah. And do you see the fan there on the top of the oh, that's funny. And of course Lynch has to go down to he actually has to show us the shot. We can't just assume. We have to
we have to see it.
Yeah.
It can't be implied. No,
definitely not. And I wonder if Naomi Watts was a method actress here.
I don't know.
Well, because if you look at season 3 of Twin Peaks, right, when she's on top of Dougie and all that.
Yeah, Dougie.
I think Lynch just likes watching Naomi Watts like grind into things.
Yeah. Just overzealous, weird sex scenes.
Yeah. And look, Diane can't even afford like a.
Oh, hey, red lampshade.
What
were we supposed to?
I don't really care. But I love the fact that she doesn't have the cordless phone, right? She's just got the old plug-in.
She's got the old plug-in. The lampshade supposed to look like the cowboy's hat or something? I don't know. I don't really care.
George says, if anyone hasn't seen it, Naomi Watts on Inside the Actor Studio says she was actually masturbating, and those are real tears. Well, wow. Good to know.
Well, it was real.
Yeah. Well, like when she's on top of Dougie and grinding into him, it's like, well, I guess that's the way Naomi Watts has sex on top. Because how do you fake that? You know?
All right. Sorry, Liev Schreiber. I guess that's his life.
Yeah. She's like, forget it. Forget you, Ray Donovan. I got hello, Dougie.
Hello, Dougie. Mulholland Drive. It's the title of the movie.
And it's interesting because here we have the the replay of the opening scene. And so you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be the end of the movie. It's like, no, we still have 20 minutes left, guys.
Yeah, we still got some time.
Lynch isn't going to let us go. He's going to keep us in that theater until he wins that Cannes Film Festival award.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you know what? They're going to take me seriously if I make this movie over 2 hours and 14 minutes. Fire Walk With Me was 2 hours and 14 minutes, and that got booed. So I'm going to take it to 2:28.
Take this. I'm glad Firewalk with Me is finally getting the praise it deserves.
Yeah, it would get even more praise if they actually released like a full like missing pieces cut with it though. Okay, so the way I look at this is, okay, this is a replay of the opening, but now obviously Diane is in the car. But the way I always looked at it was like, well, she knew this route, right? She gets met by Camilla and taken up to Adam's house. So she knows that Camilla is going this way to Adam's house. This is where they kind of have rendezvous, probably because the wife is out with Billy Ray Cyrus. So she asks for the hit to be on this road right outside Adam's house, which is why they pull over. But then they get hit with the car accident. And instead of running up the hill, Camilla runs down the hill.
Okay.
You don't sound like that made any sense to you.
No, it did. It's just not my take, but
you're like, okay, you are crazy. But no. Well, doesn't that make sense though? I mean, if
it does, it does.
If you know someone's going to be, takes a certain road at a certain time, you're going to make sure that, well, I know she's going to be on her way to Adam's house. Let's have her get killed right there, because they pull over. They don't just whip the gun out and try to shoot her. They actually pull over exactly
to a specific spot.
A specific spot, and that's the spot that she leads Diane up to Adam's house.
This part reminds me of Cooper leading Lara through the forest.
It also reminds me of a 1970s lesbian movie called Vampires. If you've ever seen that, it's a little British movie, but it has a similar look.
Isn't there a lesbian vampire story called Ancient? Like, is it called Carmilla? I don't know. Can't remember.
No, but Lynch co-starred in a movie called Nadja, which is like a vampire film. It's a low-budget vampire film, but he's in it.
I know there's some lesbian vampire story that came out around the same time like Dracula did. I can't remember what it was called. But it was like really ahead of its time. I can't remember what it's called though.
Oh man, I'm getting yelled at in the chat. What conceit! I cannot believe that I say something about his theory and then Cameron says something back. Like I said many times, I will speak authoritatively about my theory because that's how I feel. Okay,
Danielle, we all have different takes, guys.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Danielle has her theory. I'm not arguing with that. We're discussing. As I said at the beginning of this, everybody's right, everybody's wrong. But I feel sure about how I view the movie, and so that's how I'm going to talk. Yeah. That's what makes the discussion, guys. Okay, so there it is. I'm not going to just be like,
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly. If you want logical, then when we do our straight story watch along, you can be in there for that. So anyway, here we find out that Coco is Adam's
mom. Call me Coco.
Yeah. Now, no, Naomi Watts here. Again, the way I look at it as that's who we're seeing, but they're really seeing Diane, the other actors. Okay. It's just for our amusement, we're getting the Naomi Watts show. But I do like how everything's going in and out of focus, because she's losing her mind.
She is. She's drunk. She's going crazy. She's jealous.
And here's Scott Coffey.
Hot-headed.
And here's Scott Coffey reprising Wilkins, a character. He apparently kept the same hair from the pilot, but he shows up here. I don't know. Does he get a line? I can't remember, but Lynch definitely trimmed out his scene from the pilot, so he gets thrown in this extended epilogue.
When my aunt died, she left me some money. She went to Canada to make a movie.
I like how
she died.
Laura's just completely vamping it up over there with the cigarette.
Oh yeah.
It's great. Yeah, the way I look at it is like Adam's wife is, probably visiting family out of town. And so he's having one of his shindigs that, if any word got out, they would say like, well, he wasn't there with Camilla alone. He had a party there, so
But then why did they get engaged if he's still married?
Because
I guess maybe he's waiting to get divorced.
yeah, well, he knows his wife's probably cheating, but then he catches her. But he's still going to be all pissed off about it because he's a man. So
No, I think that, I think this is the reality, and she really is going to go get married to him, and then in her dream world, Diane's going to wreak havoc on him and have his wife cheat on her, have everything go wrong with the movie, and just make it like a whole big F you. Adam, you've ruined my life.
Well, let me ask you this though. If the whole first half or 2/3 of the movie is a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think, okay, again, we're going off the finished film here. We're not going off the pilot, which was clearly not a dream at all.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you go by the finished film, what would be the point of Lynch making everybody sit through an hour and a half that doesn't even happen? Just to make the compare and contrast.
Compare and contrast, and I think he's going into psychoanalytics. Like, this is your inner mind at work trying to fix your life, and you trying to repress all of your guilt and all your sadness from your real life, trying to make this life for yourself. So it's like the id at work.
What's interesting to me is Lynch referred to this movie numerous times in 2001 whenever being interviewed. He called this movie putrefaction. And I was like, what on earth? So I looked that up, and he's referring to the 5th stage of death, the breaking down of a body, decomposition of proteins following rigor mortis.
So could that maybe be his own symbolic way of talking about the mind, degradation of the mind?
Diane in bed dead she's been dead a long time in that bed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe her mind is still deteriorating after she's dead.
So it's just like a huge...
So if you take it by his view, right, maybe one way to look at it is this is all a dream, right, in Diane's head after she's dead and her brain is still functioning in the last moments.
And if you go back to the La Llorona stuff about being stuck between the spirit world and the living world, she's stuck after she's dead, just reliving all this crazy stuff and coming up with these dream things in her mind while her mind is just deteriorating and it's just torturing her while she's stuck in this weird in-between state. I could see that.
Now look, she's kind of dressed a little bit like the other actress, Rena Reffel. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people got confused by, especially because it's the same actor.
Yeah.
But we're here at the Winkies, and so it's interesting that all these Winkies scenes were all added into the feature film. They're not in the pilot at all.
Okay. He wanted some more diner stuff. He loves diners.
Yeah. But this is like a Pulp Fiction type of diner. It's not like
it is.
It's not the Double R diner.
Gotta get John Travolta and Sam Jackson in there.
That would be great. Someone should just okay. You know, I have fans out there that cut new things together. Somebody should take this scene or the Winky stuff and then cut in Garcon coffee.
Oh no! But then Tim Roth comes in on that scene.
Yeah, I know.
And holds up the place, which is perfect because he's a Lynch guy now.
Yeah, he is. Hutch and Chantel.
Yes.
Okay, so now this scene, it dissolves and we get the dumpster moving towards. This is the final scene in the pilot.
Yes. Okay.
So it goes from the girls in the mirror, and then we see, like, it kind of pans down, and we see the handbag, and then it dissolves into the dumpster and the bum behind the dumpster. And it's like, we've never seen the bum before in the pilot. This is just
here we go.
Yeah,
we creepy bum.
We see this shot, and it looks like the homeless person in Hellraiser, which I love. But yeah, then it would cut into the close up of the face, and then it faded out, and that was the end. All I always love the smoke, you know.
Mhm.
And look at the the aluminum can top inside the bag. That's a nice touch. It's hilarious. And of course we get the little the little elderly people coming out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It should have been the woodsman.
It should have been the woodsman. That would be perfect. Got a light. Blue key.
Yeah. Well, that's the signal that the attempt has been made.
Mm-hmm. It's its calling card.
And what's interesting is that she she takes her life thinking, in my opinion, I think she takes her life knowing that her lover has been killed, but in reality her lover didn't die. She just got a head trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then is discovered just a few days later by Betty and Camilla, not knowing that she's stumbling upon her ex-lover Diane. But I love it when the after the elderly people come through the door and then they grow up to be, they get to be real size. It's so intense. That screaming that Naomi Watts does as she's being chased down the hallway. That's powerful screaming. Extremely powerful.
I think that the fact that the bum to me signifies repression, and now that it has the box, I think, and the old people come out, it's like her demons coming to her saying, you can't repress this anymore. Your lover is dead. You killed her, and now you have to face everything. And she can't take it, and that's why she kills herself.
Whereas I look at it as she's her even making the statement that she wants her lover dead is just as bad as her lover being killed off. Like, just once you've passed that point of no return, it's like if whether you kill somebody or plan to kill somebody, you're still arrested for murder, even if they didn't die. It's the attempt.
The attempt.
Tony says, I laughed hard when the elderly people crawling from the door. I think a lot of people in the audience in the theater was just like, what the heck?
Like, what is that, little mini old people coming through? Being all sneaky.
Right. Now my video stopped. Where are you right now?
Here, I'll pause. Let's see, I have the bum and
don't
it's
pause
fading
it.
out. Okay.
Don't pause it.
Yeah, the bum is fading out.
Right. And so that shot of the bum, the close-up, is the final shot in the pilot.
And now we have her face
with that beautiful
imposed in.
That beautiful Angela Badalamenti like love theme comes up, and then it goes from her idyllic happiness to showing them as a couple, and then back to her, and then it goes back to Club Silencio. And then I love how the music slows down, stops, and then you get that cut of the woman going Silencio. It's so perfect.
It's the most perfect thing. And it's just very, let's see, it's very reminiscent of the end of Hamlet, I think. What does he say? When Horatio, I have it written in my notes. I can't remember what Horatio says, but it's basically like very reminiscent of what Horatio says at the end of Hamlet. Like, not as, I wish I could remember. Oh, the rest is silent, he says. So it's very, it's a very Lynchian homage to Shakespeare, I think.
And when you cut to her close up, and then as it fades out, and you see her earring just glitter in that last moment before it fades out, and then there's a long pause, and then the industrial sounds come up with the end credits. I mean, I don't care how many times I see this movie, I'm stunned at the end of it every time.
It's bone chilling. I get goosebumps all, like, my whole body every time. It's so good.
Norman says, I see this ending with the two images / spirits of the two, as if somehow they are reunited now that the flaws and identities are known. Perhaps Camilla forgives Diane.
I really like that. It's kind of a beautiful way to look at it.
It definitely
that you don't
is.
have the perception of the world anymore and lets you realize all your flaws and what you did wrong. You can be reunited and not stuck in this weird in-between place anymore.
Right. George says the ending always gives me chills every time.
Definitely.
Are the credits rolling yet for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Danielle, I'm so impressed we made it through.
Me too. We did good.
We did great. We did great. You know, this is your introductory podcast on this channel.
I love it. It was so fun.
Yeah, and we only got 3 thumbs down, so that's great.
Oh, that's good. We just had a couple people yelling at us. It's okay.
No, they were yelling at me. No, nobody yells at you. They yell at me because I'm super opinionated about things, but I love everybody. You know, that's one thing I just love about David Lynch's stuff, you know, is the idea that everybody can have their own viewpoints, their own opinions, their own ideas about things. And as long as you know, come to it with like, this is how I feel about it and this is why I feel about it, then awesome.
Mm-hmm. What's the beauty of Lynch is what you feel from the movie initially, like, is real for you, no matter, and everyone, it's different for everyone, and nothing's right, nothing's wrong. It's all perfect. What
I find so interesting is again, with that, so interesting, I'm so sorry guys, but this movie was made in 1999 for the most part, and yet it's considered to be the best film so far of the 21st century because it came out in 2001.
That's funny.
In its final form. So
it's a little bit 90s, a little bit 2000s.
Reggie says, Danielle is your best co-host yet.
Thank you.
George says, Danielle, you're great.
You guys. Thanks.
Okay, now we have the angry people coming back.
Now everyone's like, Danielle's the worst. Never have her back on again.
Not at all. They're Philip says, you were the one yelling, Cameron. I just disagree with you. Mark says, Danielle won the debate. Now, here's the thing about Mark. Mark has been trolling me for days now, saying, I can't wait for you to do your Mulholland Drive watch-along so I can hear you blather on about some theory that doesn't exist. Well, guess what, Mark? Your theory doesn't exist as much, either. So
none of it really exists.
No, that's the best part. Your theory doesn't make any sense either if you're going to go that way. Like I said, any theory you can poke holes in. Why? Because this movie doesn't have an actual reading.
Nope.
There is no, I'm telling you again, there is no actual interpretation of this movie. There is no actual interpretation of Eraserhead. There is no actual interpretation of Twin Peaks Season 3.
No.
It's whatever you bring to it.
It's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's so ambiguous. And I'm such a sucker for ambiguity. It's the best.
But I love the fact that it gives you just enough to allow each and every person to come up with their own interpretation of the film. And if you go up to David Lynch and you say, this is what Mulholland Drive is, he'll say, okay.
He'll be like, it is for you, and that's great.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is. So we just watched what is considered to be the greatest movie of the 21st century so far, and one of the most erotic films ever made, which I completely disagree with, but
No.
Yeah. Crying while masturbating is not really erotic.
No, it's just sad.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad and depressing.
Yeah.
Jen says, I love Danielle. I thought we'd seen her before. All your co-hosts are great. Douglas says, this is why we do this, to collaborate. Kareem says there might actually be a solid interpretation of Eraserhead. Yes, and only David Lynch knows it.
His most spiritual film, in his opinion.
Yes. Oh, Mark, he's given us 2 thumbs up, though. He says, great job, Cameron and Danielle. So
thanks,
thank you
Mark.
very much. All right. So we're going to wrap this up because we've been doing this for a while. Danielle, where can people find you on the interweb?
Well, I'm mostly active on Twitter. You can find me at Hella_Danielle. Or if you want, I'm also on Instagram. I'm Dan Lella.
Okay, well, how do you spell your Twitter?
My Twitter is HELLA_Danielle, DANIELLE. And then Instagram, I'm DANLELLA.
All right, well, there it is.
I can't find a good name across the board that'll fit that is available. So there's They're just stupid names, but
well,
it works.
Knowing everybody in the chat, they're probably going to tag you on a lot of posts, David Lynch and Twin Peaks posts. So be ready for that.
All right, I'm ready. Bring it on.
So Danielle, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Taking time out of your busy Friday night.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't meant to be a joke, by the way.
But it is though. I'm never busy on Friday night.
You hear that, guys? See, all the nice girls are home Friday nights, and you just assume they're out on dates.
I'm here watching David Lynch every Friday night. You can catch me here in my room.
Awesome. So Wild at Heart next Friday. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to like these videos. Make sure to share them. Subscribe to the YouTube account, the Vimeo account, the Facebook page, the Twitter. You know the gig. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time. Take care.